to the river and cry, and the river's gonna feel you're the god of rain. It's gonna worship you like God and Creator for ages. And all the fairies of the forest will come. They wanna show you to the dance of night. This is the age of Aquarius. Of night. This is the age of Aquarius. Hey!
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome out. Let me just get all this dialed in. My last minute podcast tonight, we're going to be talking about the age of Aquarius. That's right. And this amazing song by the Villagers, the age of Aquarius. And these guys are just, this song's ridiculously good. What a proper song to play for this podcast. And thanks everybody for joining in tonight on this Sunday. Maybe we'll move into Monday. I just don't know. Kind of improv everything. Probably not, but considering it's only 9 p.m. here in the Yucatan of Mexico, that's why I'm broadcasting this. Let's talk about Aquarius. So welcome out, everybody, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you being here. Like I said, this was a last minute thing. This is what I do. If it pops into my head and it's kind of like calling my name, I roll with it. And this is one of those times. So I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. during this time. I'm going to be looking to my right quite a bit because that's where I have my second monitor with my comments for all you great decoders coming in and exploring this topic of Aquarius. And it is really more about the age of Aquarius. What does that look like from an esoteric perspective? Because there's a lot of theories going on around the world today about what it may look like. You're going to have your opinion on what you think it looks like. And I want to talk about a lot of things tonight. I'm going to be quoting from a great astrology book that I'm very fond of, which I'll share with all of you in case you may want to get the book yourself. And what this author has to say about the age of Aquarius, just profound information about this upcoming. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know about you, but I am extremely excited about what this age has to bring to all of us. What an exciting time to be alive right now, man. You can just cut this air with a knife, literally. Like, we've all heard that statement before. You could cut this with a knife right now. The anticipation is just so high on the world stage. Like, where are we going? What's going to happen? How does all this stuff work? How does magic work? We got to talk about magic because, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the information age. There are no more secrets. If you want to be able to use your own magic, if you want to become a magician consciously, well, this is going to be the age to do that. During the age of Pisces, Pisces being the 12th sign, it's the last sign. So it gets really shit heavy energy. That's why all you Pisceans out there that have strong connections to your sun, maybe a rising sign, maybe a lot of planets in Pisces. I mean, you know what it's like, because when you're in the Piscean energy, that's the Hangman card. And it's an energy that really is the one of the mystic. But yet, in comes the church and and I'm going to use this word for fun, demonized all these great tools that we're going to have access to during this age of Aquarius. Because I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, from a fan of astrology, from a fan of, sacred geometry, numbers, mathematics, the age of Aquarius is not going to look anything like the age of Pisces. Now, it's going to be obviously something that will move in rather slowly, but it is moving in quickly. I mean, look at technology and how much it's advanced over the past 5 years. I mean, just look at your cell phone. Just look at what you can do with your cell phone. It's a mini computer that you can put in your pocket. The cell phones today are more powerful than any of the computers, 10 years ago. So it's quite amazing what this technology is moving through into this age of Aquarius. And I'm really excited about it because, I'm a fan of technology. I personally, for me, I don't know about you, but these are the questions you should maybe ask yourself. Would you want to go back to a rotary phone? Would you want to go back to a horse and buggy? Would you want to go back to taking a squirt outside in an outhouse with a flashlight in the cold? I certainly wouldn't want any of those. So is there a way we can merge the technology with the human being experience? And I'm going to be showing some slides tonight, a little bit of a preview of what I think this all means, what could be coming down the pike. And, let's really kind of start off with the collective consciousness. And the collective consciousness, meaning the main consciousness on the world stage, that rather shapes everything. Now, you may be what Jason from Archaic says, you may be an errant, which is kind of, we're all these little mini Taurus fields. You may be somebody who can dictate your life in a certain way, shape, or form. But that's just going to be an opinion, as is everything I'm going to be presenting to you today. Even though I'm going to interpret some stuff with the cards and, astrology and stuff like that, it's really irrelevant because it's just going to come down to an opinion. That's really what it's going to come down to. So the collective, if you really look at imagination, your imagination, that's what shapes this reality. Life is but a dream. Daydreaming, sleeping, lucid dreaming. And so right now at this current moment in time, which is all that matters, what has the collective, including all of us, what have we been building over the past 100, 200 years? Never mind thousands of years. I mean, you could go obviously all the way back to perhaps the start date of the age of Pisces, thousands of years ago, if that's how it works. And all this time that mankind has been living on the planet, they have been creating and creating through one thing and one thing only. And you can get rid of every other thing that you think is creating this world. There is one thing that's creating this world. And that's under the guise of one thing, and that's influence. Which I did a big shout out to Jordan, Waters Above Crypto. I hope you're following him. A great voice to follow during this transition period that we're moving through. But we had a podcast on deception versus influence, which I brought up before and kind of postulated, like, I don't believe in deception. We call it that. Like, oh, you're being deceived. No, you're just being influenced. If we just get rid of the adjectives, even influence, and we focus on one thing, and that's the subject. What is the subject of what's going on in the world stage? Well, there's many subjects. What are you being influenced by? And whatever you're being influenced by, you're co-creating this reality through the collective consciousness. Whether or not you think you're an errant or somebody who's, a standalone Taurus field, that's besides the point. But we are creating a collective energy, and that energy is delivering onto the world stage the effects. We're the cause, and then you have the effect. What's going to be the effect? Like when the boat moves across the water and the wake behind the boat, that's the effect. The boat is the cause. See, we're the boat. And then we look behind us and it's like, oh damn, there's the effect that we're leaving. And so as these ages change, as these, timelines change, we become different people, species. And then the things that were important 2,000 years ago, well, are they really important now? So really, where's the collective going? And I'm going to talk about that with a few slides, because I will bring into this podcast, this live presentation on Let's Talk About Aquarius, I will be bringing in transhumanism. I have a decode coming out on it. And I want you to really take into consideration one thing here, ladies and gentlemen, personally for you. Leave all of your preconceived notions out the window right now. Just open your mind and look at possibilities. Don't be so set in stone on what you think may happen. And I can't as well, because expectations, as Buddha says, is the root of all suffering. And it's true. When you have expectations, especially emotional ones, you get attached when you get bummed out. And that gives off an emotional response. But nonetheless, where are we going with this age of Aquarius? And you got to bring in the collective, and the collective is obviously a huge influence from the past. In the age of Pisces, the age of Pisces was really the two fish, and the two fish were the two hemispheres of your brain. Part of it, 69, the yin yang, the brain being 11 in numerology. And now we're moving into, the age of Aquarius, which, are we just moving away from the brain, so to speak, the fleshly brain? Does transhumanism scare you? I bet a lot of you, it scares you. You're like, I'm not taking no chip in my skin. I'm not going to turn into a computer. I'm not doing any transcendence kind of super science fiction type of stuff. No way. But ladies and gentlemen, I'm just postulating this. What if you don't have a choice? And you're fighting it so badly, and then when it comes down to it, you're going to be left with, well, damn, now you just did all that fighting for nothing. All that energy you could have been spending on creating something for the future, for your children's future. So I just want to be very crystal clear. I am not for or against transhumanism. I am completely neutral to it. Because if it does take place, I'm prepared to make my moves on the world stage. If it does not take place, I am prepared to make my moves on the world stage. If we have a fork in the road, there's a fork in the road where we're going to have to make a decision, we're going to be able to make a decision. Which path are you going to take? Which one would you take? And it's like that can branch off into, because there's so many possibilities with that. So is there going to be a fork in the road on this new age, or do we not have a choice in the matter? Why is all this marketing being done on the world stage? And it has been going on for a very, very long time. Before I was born in 1973. It was going on a hell of a lot longer before I was born. I don't know about when you were born. It's been going on for a long time. And back in 1973 when I was born, and then when I was going through, I was an 80s kid, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't have the wisdom and knowledge that I have now. 10 years ago you could say I was asleep. Compared to where I'm at now. If I go back 15 years, 1,000%, I was into sports, I was into politics, I was into all that kind of stuff. How about you? So, it's nice to look back at these times and say, you know what, I'm super grateful because I'm not there anymore. You're not supposed to be there because here you are right now in the space you're in, and your mindset is where it's at right now. And this is something to be grateful for, becoming a gratitude junkie, as I often say. Get into that group, the gratitude, be grateful for everything around you. But is the collective moving towards machine? That's a question I think about a lot. Because if you just look around you, this thing has taken over the human species. Cell phone. Everybody's got one, pretty much. So, there's exceptions. I'm going with the majority. And if everybody here right now, you're using a laptop, your cell phone, you're using technology. You're giving it your energy. I'm giving it my energy. We're merging with it. Elon Musk says we're already cyborgs. Because you're giving this your energy. This is an extension of who you are. Now, unless this completely goes kaput, we get a complete mass wipeout of humanity and it removes everything off the world stage, that's a huge game changer, which means we're all going to be dead. Or the majority of us. If you're a lucky one to make it alive, because then you can bring in the pole shift, you can bring in all these, apocalypse looking kind of scenarios, solar flares, you can bring in, there's so many things you can bring in to this entire environment of the possibilities of what could happen. And we just don't know. I don't give a shit how much somebody thinks they know what's going on. How high up in the totem pole they think they are. They don't really know. It's a big secret that no one knows the answer to. You can have some good guesses. You can definitely tap in. And this is what I'm doing. I'm just tapping into what I feel like the source code is talking to me and telling me all about. And really all that matters is what you believe and what I believe, et cetera. But collectively, where are we going with all this stuff? If you take theology, we start off with theology right here, right now, because it's a big topic that was huge in the age of the Piscean age. And the church, in Luke 22, verses 10, it has the Christ talking about following a man into a house bearing a pitcher of water. That's Aquarius. And he said, follow him into that house. Obviously telling you that the Christ is moving from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So that means there can't be any end going on because we're moving into the age of Aquarius with theology. And then you have the big scripture in Revelation, the last book, the 66th book, meaning apocalypse in Greek. Apocalypse meaning the Great Awakening. It doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a massive die-off or a massive, genocide or a massive destruction. But Revelation 21 verses 1. And this is going to go right into Age of Aquarius, folks. Revelation 21 verses 1 says that there will be a new heaven and new earth, and the former have passed away. And then at the very end of it, it says the sea will be no more. The sea will be no more. So then I've wrap in my mind, what is the sea? That's their spell book, which, it's the most popular spell book on the world stage. And again, if we just take ourselves out of the collective, if you're not I'm not into that, cool. But there are way many people that are into it versus not into it. We're the minorities, which is exactly where I want to be anyway. I don't want to be the popular. But their spell book is saying the sea will be no more. What is the sea? Well, the Vatican is known as the Holy See, the head of the church. Does that mean that religion will be no more? Is the sea religion? Is the sea currency? Catholic is 27, currency is 27. In the same numerology cipher. The sea will be no more. I mean, if you take a look at the Age of Aquarius, we're moving towards a machine. Is a church necessary anymore? I mean, all of them are moving online anyway. Anyway, I wanted to bring in some cards to give you kind of another perspective, taking a look at what this Age of Aquarius is going to look like. Aquarius in numerology equals the number 21. Okay? Aquarius, through Chaldean numerology, the oldest known numerology cipher on the planet, working off of phonetics, is 21. And 21 is the chapter in Revelation that talks about there will be a new heaven and new earth, and the sea will be no more. Revelation 21. Aquarius is 21 in numerology. The 21st card in the tarot. There it is. It's the last card in the major arcana. It's the world. There will be a new heaven and new earth. Revelation 21. This is the 21st card. I mean, you can't get any more apparent than that. And anybody out there trying to, please, I respect everybody's opinion. But man, if your mind is the tarot cards, folks, they're right into the Bible, okay? They're part of it. They're an extension of it. There's nothing different about it. Trust me, they're embedded into the Bible. I've decoded so many, unlimited amounts of decoding of the Bible. And I've brought in the tarot, and I can show you the God of the Bible. I can show you what tarot cards it's tied to. The devil, Jesus, Moses, Noah. But Revelation 21, there'll be a new heaven and new earth. There it is. Bam! It's the world card. And you get the 4 fixed signs of astrology right there. That's why the Bible is an astrology book. You get the ox, lion, eagle, man. You get Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, and Aquarius. So Aquarius is one of the 4 fixed signs right there. Fixed sign. We're moving into the age of Aquarius. It's not a mutable sign like Pisces. It's a fixed sign. And it's an air sign. It's much different than, it's not even anything like Pisces. And then you're getting all these shows coming out, all this exposure on, Westworld. Westworld came out. The movie came out in 1973, the same year I was born, by Michael Crichton. He wrote a 105-page screenplay, and they made it into a movie. And then you have HBO taking off with it. And what that show is talking you all about, showing you that you're waking up realizing you have an implant in your brain. Your life's not your own. This whole time you think, well, and again, if this is true, right? This whole time, I have complete control of my life. I have complete control. just to come to find out, well, not really. I mean, 351 videos I have now, counting, and all of them different, but showing the breakdown of people, places, and things, and decoding them all, and showing the same patterns, showing that we live in a predestined, scripted reality. Because there's no other logical explanation for the discoveries that I found. There's no logical explanations for the things that you found as a human being. You as a decoder, the things that you're finding it in your own freaking life, just like I am. How scripted your own personal life is. And that's what I feel is the great awakening. That's the second coming. Waking up, realizing you're having the Jesus Christ superstar experience. You are the Christ. You're born out of love, of course. That's how babies get made. So you get this world card, and this is the age. Aquarius is 21, and this is 21. So you're going to get the new world there. Here's the new world order. Ooh, really scary. It's not scary at all. But the thing is you're waking up to the fact that you're a creator. And you're being influenced by whatever it is that you're being influenced by. So then you wake up and you realize, oh, damn, wait a second. I can actually create stuff? Yeah, you are doing it every second of every day. But you see, if you're under the guise of what the church tells you, if you're under the guise of what's like, it's like somebody literally telling you, well, do this, do that, and and we've been through all that. Well, now the age of Aquarius. I mean, let me just read. I want to bring in this. This is the book right here, in case anybody wants a good read. Alan Oken's Complete Astrology book. It's quite thick. It's pretty damn amazing. And I want to just kind of tear into this a little bit and tell you a little bit about his opinion on what this is going to be like, because it's pretty interesting. But you got to remember that every age has a symbiotic relationship with another one, and that obviously would be Leo. Okay, Leo the lion is ruled by the sun, the 5th house. And that's just directly opposite of Aquarius, which is the 11th house, which in my opinion, it's going to be ruled by Uranus. Now I know, because back then they didn't have telescopes, so Saturn was the ruler of Aquarius, and now they're co-rulers. But there's no other co-rulers. It's just everybody else has got a ruler. So Uranus was discovered in 1781. And when that discovery happened, it became the ruler of Aquarius, and it fits Aquarius way more than the Kronos does. Because you see, ladies and gentlemen, when we move into the age of Capricorn, that is Kronos's domain. And that's an earth sign. So you think about the transition from Pisces, the fish, the brain, into age of Aquarius, which is electricity. That's why you can say bye-bye to gasoline-powered cars. See you later. Adios. Was nice knowing you. Not right away, but because it says in this book, it says, as the supply of Piscean age oil is depleted or made economically unfeasible, a tremendous search for new energy sources will be undertaken. And I mean, it says this is what he says. He says the polarity of Aquarius is Leo, and Leo is ruled by the sun. So he's making the determination that we'll have more solar power. But is the sun going to continue to shine? Because then you bring in the aspect of the cyberpunk era. Now, if you don't know what that is, go Google it. Came around the 1960s. And again, I'm not saying it's true. But the cyberpunk is all about neon lights, artificial lights. So we have to take that at least into consideration as a possibility that, shit, man, we may be relying on artificial lights for thousands of years. A lot of these, like Blade Runner and all these, these movies and stuff like that, I mean, they have that story there. And again, I'm not saying it's true, but how could you rule it out and say, no, that's not going to happen? See, because when you say that, you box yourself in, and then if something doesn't happen, you get all flustered. You get frustrated. You lower your I'm not saying you will, but the tendencies of you lowering your frequency because you didn't get what you wanted are greatly enhanced. And your ripple is the most important thing. That's your fuel, your gas. And most people in this day and age, they just don't give a shit about their gas. They'll just give it away like it's not a big deal. But see, when we come to conscious of knowing that we're co-creators, it's a game changer. It's a game changer, ladies and gentlemen. So there's a very good possibility that we will move into an artificial light age. And, the age of Aquarius just may be not the end of the dark ages. We could have the extension of the dark age move all the way through the age of Aquarius. And then when we go through the age of Capricorn, we move into an earth sign. We then end up moving into the golden age. I mean, there's a lot of ancient texts that I've read that says that Kronos, Saturn, was the ruler of the golden age. So is it possible that we are moving into the age of machine, computers, cell phones, technology, and we will go through this age for however long it's going to be? The average is 2,160 years, and we don't even know what the start date was. I have an idea. I think the age of Aquarius, in my opinion, started around 2016. Looking at the astrological charts, around 2016, I think was the official start date. But I can't say that's for sure. That's just my interpretation of the charts. But are we going to move into the new heavens and new earth, man? I mean, what is it going to look like? A new motherboard? Because we live on the motherboard. And the sea will be no more. And again, that's the theology playbook. But we have to take into consideration the collective consciousness of the world stage. That's what moves this reality. I mean, they've done tons of experiments with people sitting around in a circle or whatever and meditating, and they're creating something, or they're creating a force. They collectively come together and they create a hive mind, and they create a force, and they move magic. Well, can you magnify that with the billions of people on the world stage and where their minds are collectively going, what they're influenced by? I can see it clear as day when I go outside here in Mexico. I can still see, if you're wearing one of those face diapers, I know exactly what you're influenced by. And that's your journey. It ain't my journey. I don't care. I'm so grateful I get to look at somebody like that and say, I'm so glad I'm not there anymore. But I don't poo-poo on it. I mean, I was once, not in that exact personification of being a human being. But again, 15 years ago, man, I was dead to the world. So, I mean, that's what we're looking at, as my starter right now. I'm going to get to some of your comments. And then the Aquarius being 21, here's the 21st card in the cards of illumination, the 8 of clubs. Those of you that 8 of clubs, man, this is a fixed card. There are 3 cards in the cards of illumination that are unmovable. They're fixed, and this is one of them. This sits in position 35. So I want you to think about what I'm telling you right now. When you look at the chart, let me just show all of you real quick so you can get an idea, because it's better we think in pictures. Right here. Here is the chart for ground zero. You'll notice the 0 at the top. This is called grand solar spread 0. Okay, so your birth card's going to fit in there. Well, the 8 of clubs is right there. And that's, if you count all these spaces, it's space number 35. And 35 is tied to the element gadolinium through the numerology of the word gadolinium. I was born on the 35th day of the year, and here I am presenting to you what I think the age of Aquarius might just look like. I'm an 8 of spades, 8 of clubs, 21st card in the deck matching Aquarius. And this is in the major arcana. Remember, it's the world card. In the minor arcana, the 8 of clubs is the 8 of wands, and there it is. This is card number 30, 29 and 30, depending on if you bring the Fool or not in. And 30 equals demiurge. I mean, there's so many ways we can slice this down. This is fast moving. So if you take, if you know the tarot and the interpretation now of the word Aquarius being 21 and 21 being the 8 of clubs, and then the 8 of clubs converting into the tarot, the minor arcana card called the 8 of wands, this card means fast moving, moving quickly. Well, what do you think the age of Aquarius is going to do? It's going to move fast. Why will it move fast? Because we're moving into electricity. Smart homes, smartphones, 5G towers. I know that some of you are like, I'm not going to have, folks, you're not going to change it. Yes, there may be a fork in the road. You may be able to make a decision. Okay, great. If that makes you happy, if that, puts a smile on your face, if that makes you all warm and cozy inside, awesome. But the signs are on the handwriting's on the wall here. And I've done enough research, I've done enough readings to know that we live in a predestined script. Our lives are predestined. And the astrology has a big say in ruling over this reality. Whether you like it or not, whether you believe in it or not, does not matter. Doesn't matter. Because those celestials, whatever those things, the sentinels, whatever that you want to call it, that is what rules over this reality. May not be solely ruling over this reality like a co-ruler, but it has a lot to do with this reality. But this is what we're moving towards, the age of Aquarius. If you know what this card means, it's a fast moving card. And this is the card of the mind here. Our minds are moving. You notice that your thoughts, man, are just rapidly moving beyond the speed of, the amount of downloads I'm getting, I don't know about you, but the amount of downloads that I get are just like so lightning fast compared to what I was getting when I first started to decode. Things are speeding up. And that's because if you take the example of the pyramid right here, you see we're at the apex, the pinnacle of the pyramid. And then it looks like this. You end up putting kind of two of them together like this. And they would fit together like that. But we're in that pinnacle, the transition period. And when you get into the pinnacle of the pyramid, things have to be crammed in there because there's not as much space and things speed up. This is why you're going to get all the global warming, whether or not you believe in it, whether or not, folks, stuff's melting. Stuff's happening. Poles are shifting. Shit's going crazy. It's changing. The times are changing. And we're getting a massive influx of information that's being put into this world. And, I've been watching a little bit of some AI stuff. Just completely fascinated by this stuff, right? I am. And it clearly, if you watch some of Elon Musk stuff, whether you like the guy or not, again, set your opinions aside. Just focus on the message. What is the message without being emotionally attached to it? All he says, AI is pretty damn scary. You got to really be careful. Because what's happening every time you post something on social media, it gets put up into the cloud. It gets collected as data. And these data packets, they collect. And this is how you're going to get the Lucy scenario. Through the collection of your consciousness. Through the collection of all of our consciousnesses coming together, and it's like putting a puzzle together. And then you have this base nucleus of knowledge, wherever it's being held at. And if you want to get really kind of crazy, you can get into CERN. And, CERN is where the internet was invented, by the way. So if you just use your mind now. So the first website, I think it was. It's the first website. Anyway, the World Wide Web was invented over at CERN. What does that tell you? What are they doing over there? I don't know. I'm not there. All I can do is speculate. That's the best I can do. But is the Large Hadron Collider, is it tapping into the quantum realm? And then with this information that they're collecting with the internet, because that's where it was originating from, you would think if that's the origin of the internet, and is everything getting shuffled into that one area? Is it bottlenecking into that one area in Switzerland? Maybe. And then what are they doing with it? What are they building? Are we actually, as a species, building a new embryo here on Earth, and it will be dispersed, and it will, I don't know what that looks like. I'm getting really science fiction-y now. Because I had postulated this. I had said that human beings, we live inside of an egg. If you just look at an egg, those of you that eat eggs, it's a complete protein, it's a complete food. What is the yolk? It's the sun. The yolk is called the vitellus. The vitellus feeds the embryo once the embryo is created. An egg that you buy at the store does not have any animal in it. There's no embryo in it. It has to be hibernated. It has to be incubated. A chicken needs to sit on that thing in order for the embryo to start to be created. It needs heat to do that. That's what makes things grow. Expansion, heat. So the egg has the yellow, the vitellus, which actually is the life force for the embryo once the embryo is made, and then the albumin, the egg white, is the protective coating all the way around. That's the atmosphere. So the sun is the vitellus. It gives us life, photosynthesis. The air around us, the air we breathe, that's the egg white, the albumin, the atmosphere, and then the embryo. What's the embryo? Well, we're creating it. We are collectively, with our minds, the hive mind, we have been creating some kind of embryo. And if you get into Archaics and Jason Brashear's information, he talks about the phoenix event that happens every 138 years. Well, are we just creating an embryo, and the phoenix that rises is created off of the collective consciousness? That just might be the way it works. I'm not going to get into Pasha says Santos and eggs. Santos has his opinion. An egg is not a chicken. Sorry. It's a byproduct of an animal. So an egg has no chicken inside of it. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Go look it up. Please do your research. But anyway, that's besides the point. But we live inside of a cosmic egg. The eggshell is the firmament. That's why, when you talk about the globe, it has merit to it because there has to be some kind of barrier around the earth. And that's what they're describing and talking about. The eggshell is the firmament that surrounds the earth, whatever surrounds this earth to protect it, like a little bubble. That's what I think. Let's check out some of your comments. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Yeah. So someone made a comment about not wanting to play anymore. I get it. Not everybody got the same code. I right now, I have a great code. My life, it's amazing. You might not have that. But, I have compassion for people, but, as we move into the age of Aquarius, and it's all about, I know thyself. So even if you think you got a crappy code, even if you don't want to play anymore, how well do you know your life? Because, I do readings for people, and when I do readings for people, I can see the way the way they've been programmed and what they're supposed to be doing. But then you have to take into consideration, a lot of your programming as a human being was created from the church. If you follow, I was raised in theology. So a lot of my origins, my anchor was in the church. And then if you just eliminate theology, some of you didn't go to church. Well, now you have your parent, whoever raised you. You got to take into consideration that person or people that are raising you, they have a completely different code than you. And so some of the things they program you with, you end up adopting as your own beliefs. I mean, there's tons of kids out there that actually end up following in the footsteps of their parents, but they didn't want to. Their parents forced them into it. And if you sat down and asked them that question, they'd like, yeah, I can't stand, I'm so mad at my parents. They don't want to admit that. But there's resentment and anger because their parents, like, there's a doctor, I want you to be a doctor. And the kid doesn't, you look at the kid's code and it's like, I'm supposed to be a musician. I like banging on the drums, but their parents pushed them into being a doctor. And yeah, they can go do it, but they're not happy in their lives. See, that shit's over. That stuff will not work in the age of Aquarius. The age of Aquarius is going to revive astrology. It's going to revive the cards. It's going to revive all of that stuff. Personality types, and there will probably be more Enneagram, human design, gene keys. All of these will start to come around and they will become very fruitful. It will help businesses because then when you go hire people as a boss, you can take a look at exactly the characteristics of the people you're hiring, know exactly what kind of mind they are to some degree, and base your hiring off of what you see on the cheat sheet. See, the people aren't doing this. They just go, they go through a vet process. And anybody can fool anybody, really, if it comes down to it. So you can go there and, how many of you, you faked your age or you did something, you got in. You did what you had to do to get in. Granted, there's always going to be exceptions to get in the door through, other means. But what my point is, ladies and gentlemen, moving into the age of Aquarius, this is leaving behind the old ways that are no longer going to be useful. A great scenario is that in today's age, people still buy vinyl records. They still are being sold in music stores. Some of you may have records. But if you take a record and you compare it to an MP3, there is no comparison. It's night and day. The quality, the sound clarity, and there's no moving parts. So there's nothing to break. There's nothing to lug around. So which one sounds better? The digital. Which one works better? The digital. Which one is less bulky and there's no space it has to take up? The digital. So when you have more space, when you take all your records off the shelf, you now have a space you can do something with. Whereas before you had to store all your records. You have to store your books. Libraries. They're all moving into digital books, saving space. What are you going to put in the library now? Like, I love books, right? I love books, but I'm just giving you something to think about as we move into the age of Aquarius. A lot of these things will be phased out. There'll be no need for it anymore if this is where we're going. And seemingly it looks that way. So if we can just eliminate the horror stories. Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is a time. Please listen to what I got to tell you. I just posted this on my social media. I want to get this point out to all of you. And I may be regurgitating some older stories that I've been talking about, but this is really important. You got to get this, okay? Because if you believe you're a co-creator, forget about the scripted reality just for a minute. Set that aside. Just focus on, okay, I have an imagination. But see, most people aren't doing that. They're too bit like, I'll just turn on the telly, or I don't watch television, but you got your phone. It doesn't matter if you don't watch television anymore. You got your damn phone. People like to be influenced. Like Neville Goddard said, people would rather have the things created than the power to create. We're moving towards the power of creation again. And you got to realize, ladies and gentlemen, I know that there's a lot of bad things happening on the world stage. I get that. I'm not ignorant to that. The reason why it's at its maximum capacity right now is because people are fighting against it. They've always done that. So Magic 101, whatever you focus your attention on, you give it energy. And there's no way around that. There's nobody out there that is going to be an exception to this rule, this natural law rule. You get into the double slit experiment. That's absolute certainty right there. Go get into that. But wherever you're focusing your attention on, you're giving it your energy. You're giving it your gas, as I say. So if you are so angry at the world, and it's them and it's they, and I got to go tell everybody about it, what you're doing is you're growing it. You're helping it grow. You're actually fertilizer for their soil. That's what you're doing. When are you going to stop doing it? See, the energy that you spend on giving your fertilizer away to their soil to grow their plants, you could take your fertilizer back and say, you know what? Yeah, well, you don't deserve my fertilizer. You don't deserve my energy. I'm going to take that back and I'm going to go create something that's going to become my utopia. Because I would assume everybody here wants to create a utopia, which is a paradise, which is a beautiful world to live at. Peace and harmony. You're not going to get it 100% in a dualistic nature. Superhero and villain, they exist in this reality because it's push-pull. I mean, if you think that we're just going to move into a life of like unicorns and fluffy marshmallow clouds, that's like me telling you take one deep breath in and don't release. And you know what will happen if you do that? You'll end up running out of air. You'll die. You need the in and out. Breathe in, and then you exhale. That's duality right there. People have demonized it. They've made it evil because they just, the church, and we're at that. Remember, we're in the dark age. When you're in the dark age, the stuff it starts to rise up. But the reason why it's rising up is because people are becoming more and more aware of what's going on. People are able to get access to things they never had access to before. You can get anything at the brush of a keystroke now. The news stations, they're coming out like crazy. There's news stations popping up all over the place. And then there's everybody on social media sharing these stories. You're essentially marketing for all these companies. If you're posting on social media about the news, you're marketing it for them. You're not even getting paid to do it, and you're doing it. So what you end up doing is you end up marketing for these companies you don't even like, because you feel like you got to tell the world about it. Got to expose all that stuff. I just got to tell everybody about it. Yeah, and when you tell them all about it, what are the first reactions? People get angry. They get pissed off. And then they move away from love, and they focus on a fear-driven energy, mad anger, lower chakra energy. And that's what the world's been creating from. A large portion of it. So when are we going to get it, folks? When are we going to move away from that ridiculous energy that we've been kind of, that's how it works. You see, I hope that you guys and gals out there have the mindset to understand how this reality works, how it has always operated. So I had said this on my last What's Your Question? You're baking a cake, and what are your ingredients? I mean, I just had somebody on social media, a friend of mine. I did a reading for the person, and it keeps sending me all this dirty laundry, and I'm like, can you stop sending me this stuff? I'm not interested. Because when somebody shares dirty, like if somebody sends you a video on protesting or some law that they passed or something, and you open it, you give it your attention, you instantly feed it, and it grows. That's how magic works, folks. That's why the social media is so huge of a tool to influence the world. Because people just, I'll just share that. Oh, that looks good. I'll share. Oh my God, I'm pissed at that. I can't believe they just did that. And you give it to all your family members, and now they're on board, and you call them on the phone, and now you're doubling the energy. Can you believe that, Betty? Oh my God, they passed this and they did that. Oh my, I'm so pissed off. Man, I'm so tired of this government. I'm so tired. So shut it off. If everybody shut it off, it would disappear. Everything in this reality relies on one thing, and that's acknowledgement. Been saying this for so long. If you put a baby in a room and don't pay any attention to it, it'll die real quick. A dog, a cat. Need acknowledgement. Human life form or animals that needs acknowledgement. It's the same thing with anything in this reality. Anything that gets created, like a story. How many stories out there that people say, well, that's not real. That didn't really happen. It doesn't matter if it didn't happen or not. Anybody that shares the story, anybody that talks about the story, gives it life, makes it real. And just like that, someone just created a piece of shit out of nothing. Because they just put a whole bunch of sparkles on it, made it smell good. And now people are sharing shit. And that's really the culmination of social media. I mean, the algorithms now in your social media, like when you go, if you're somebody who uses it, well, if you scroll down and you can get lost, like you go 30 minutes, like, damn, I've been doing this for 30 minutes. But you'll go through and like, what's your feed saying? Well, the algorithms, it's going to start to tailor it to what you want to feed. Every time you go on your social media, any of them, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, when you go on these, you're not only creating influence, but you're being influenced. Then it's unavoidable. You can't get around that. So then you start to look at your feed, like, okay, what's on my Facebook feed? You go down and you start to see people and what they're talking about. Well, I mean, mine's littered with esoteric and decoding because that's what I put out there. So I'm creating that fractal. How big is it? In comparison to theology, it's small because theology still has a lot of power because the church has over 1 billion followers. And in this day and age, they're stronger than ever because they feel like, okay, the shitstorm's about to, it's really come down the pike. Yeah, the change is coming for sure. So I really, 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 really hope that you got what I just talked about. What are you giving your energy to? Your fertilizer that you give to the soil. What soil's calling your name? And then if someone comes at you and wants to share some story, and you open it up and you read it, just remember what I said. Hear my words. When you read something, you give it energy. You may just sit there and be like, because I'm all about neutrality. So yeah, it's unavoidable, right? All of us are going to feed something. I mean, you don't just go sit in a box and call it a day. Like, I'm just going to stay inside my house and be a hermit and not go outside. And, even if you don't now, you just need the computer. They've already been programmed. Everybody here has been in prison. Everybody here knows what prison feels. I actually went to prison. But everybody here, you all went to prison during the lockdown. You know what it feels like to have things stripped away. Because the narrative on the world stage, the majority of people bought into it. And that energy created the nucleus of that whole postulation, and just like that, now the collective moved you. You see, so we have to take into consideration, you get into, hey, it's, I create my own life, and yeah, true. But at some point the collective is going to, did you have to stay inside? Did you have to, wear this or, do certain things? And if you didn't do it, you were excluded. You couldn't go into some of you like, I didn't wear that thing. And some stores don't let you do it, let you go in there unless you have it. Well, I'm just going to go fight and I'm going to go. Yeah. And a lot of you did that. I'm a rebel, man. I will push to get away with things because I like to be my own world. So I feel you. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, the collective, whether I wasn't even a part of it. In 2020, I was in Mexico, central Mexico, living in the mountains, doing my Decode Your Reality channel, building that, creating space with all you great decoders. I was a hermit, living in my own world, but I was still affected by the collective. I was still affected by it. As much as I didn't want to, because I'm somebody like, just leave me alone, please. I leave you alone, you leave me alone. But if you want to get out there and you want to go to the store and go buy something, if you want to go do this, now the collective starts to encroach on your life. So this is why I'm saying the future, like those of you that have children, man, decode your freaking kids. Teach your kids what their power is. These kids are going to create the future is being made in the now moment as we move into the age of Aquarius. It's a slow process. It's not quick. But we can't worry about what happened in the past during the age of Pisces. All we can do is worry about right now. And right now is like, what are you creating with your magic on the world stage? What are your children creating with magic on the world stage? How much are you paying attention to the mainstream? How much information are you putting away on the computer? How much information are you, taking a look at by swiping your keyboard? What are you sharing? Because you're an influencer. So you should be decoding your children because they're going to create the future. And if you raise a child, if I had a kid, I don't have any children, but if I did, I love kids. But if I had a child, oh man, that kid would be a freaking superstar because I would teach that child everything about their source code, what they're defaulted with. And then it makes the decision easier on what that child's going to grow up and be. I really want to play the drums. I want to be in a band. And then you go look, and as they mature, you can start to see, you start to see it in their charts. And then it's easy to encourage them to do things. Instead of making, you got to do that because I did it and your grandfather did it. And that's how that's programming. All right. So Max is talking about money. Let's talk about money a little bit and the age of Aquarius and where are we going with this whole currency thing? Again, just look at the evolution of how everything works in this reality. Again, leave your preconceived notions, leave your opinions out right now. Just be neutral to what I'm saying to you, okay? Let's just use the example of how many of you back in the day, when you had to drive around, some of you drove a lot. How many of you here can say you've used a Rand McNally map, a book, or a map folded up in the glove box? Remember those? Or you stop at the grocery store, the gas station on the side of the road. Hey, you got a map I can buy? I'm lost. Or you got to stop and ask directions. Nobody stops to ask directions anymore. You don't do that in the age of Aquarius. You just look on your freaking phone, or you just look in your navigation. Navigation's right in your car. You don't even need a cell phone. The car tells you where to go. No one here uses a Rand McNally map anymore. We use navigation. That example of evolution should clearly tell you where we're going with money that we use to buy things. Fiat currency, the peso, the dollar, the yen, wherever you're at in the world, there's paper ones floating around. Currency, tender, legal tender as they call it. Promissory notes. That's the Rand McNally map, folks. That's being phased out. I know some of you you're not liking it, but it's not a matter of what you like or don't like. You gotta go, are you using navigation or are you using a Rand McNally map? No, you're using navigation. Folks, even if you're not a fan of cryptocurrency, you've been swiping your card to do your purchases. Yes, I know there are some people, here in Mexico, it's a very unique place because maybe this is where you're at too. They still go to the ATM, they still pull cash out, they still use cash here. But eventually that's going to be phased out. Cash takes up money. We're trying to condense Remember the library again. You go to the public library, New York Public Library, massive. And then the books are no longer needed. All those books come off the shelf, and now you have all this space you can do something else with. And that's, fiat currency. All of us have been programmed to swipe a card. Digital currency. You've been programmed to do it. You've been groomed, in a sense, to use a digital currency. When you look at your bank account, that's all digital numbers. You can't, it's not like you can go open up your vault and say, well, there's all my money. Look at all the money stacked up I got there. The majority, no. Because you're moving into a digital currency. And I know that's scary, right? For some of you. But I mean, again, the handwriting's on the wall. Rand McNally map, fiat currency. Rotary phone, 8-track player, record player. And then you move into the now moment, and now you get the MP3. You get the cryptocurrency. You get navigation. I mean, folks, right here, external hard drive. This is a 500 gigabyte. And it's a solid state, meaning it doesn't move. There's nothing spin. Remember the old external hard drives? I've broken several of those. What a nightmare that is. The ones the SSDs, the ones that spin. I'm sorry, I can't remember what the name of them are, but the ones that spin. And then you're like, don't drop it. And if you drop it, the needle busts or whatever happens, and then you got to go take it to a store, and that causes you more time, more heartache, more suffering. This right here alleviates a lot of your burdens, this technology, because now you can fit not only 500 gigabytes on this sucker, but there's no moving parts. So it solved many problems. That's the age of Aquarius. This ain't the age of Pisces, right? This is the age of Aquarius right here. The advancement of technology. It's amazing. So again, I mean, would you want to go back to one of those external hard drives that spin? If you've already matured into a solid state hard drive to store your MP3s and your pictures and everything like that on one of these, which one would you choose? Well, naturally, most of you, if not all of you, would choose the solid state hard drive if you knew how they work. It's the same scenario with the evolution of going into the age of Aquarius. You're moving into an electrical age. Electrical cars. Electrical devices. All right, so with that in mind, let me show all of you. Let me show you a few of my slides for this age of Aquarius. All right, so let's have some fun. I only have a few of them, but let me take you on a little journey here. And I'm going to start off with this guy right here. Alda Nova. His name is Alda Caparicio. He's a Canadian rocker from Montreal, Canada. Those of you from Montreal, rejoice. He had a one-hit wonder. It was called Life. It was just called Fantasy. Life is just a fantasy. And that's what and this is the wake-up call, folks. If you want to know what a wake-up call is like, it's this, the fantasy. You're in a fantasy. Life is a fantasy. And you can see that it's not just a fantasy, it's a movie. The waking up process, realizing that you are the Jim Carrey, Truman Show, Jesus Christ. Jim Carrey, of course, has the initials of Jesus Christ. He played Truman Burbank, showing you that you're inside of a movie being watched, an experiment, et cetera, et cetera. That's going to be well known. People are going to know that now. That's going to be a huge revealing party. And we're living in a fantasy. Life is just a fantasy. Can you live the fantasy life? It's not real. It's real to us, but whatever's watching us, it's not. And you notice his name is a 56, which matches. I mean, this is how comical this guy's life is. The one-hit wonder he creates right there. And then if you actually look at the 56, did I have another one before that? Yeah. If you look at the number 56, it's the house always wins. What is the house? Well, it's going to be your blood. It's going to be the movie. The house always wins. The movie always wins over anything that we want to say or do. So we have to start to look at what is the movie that we're creating on the world stage as human beings through the human being experience. Well, we use our imagination. 23 is tied to the word pineal gland, or pineal, I should say. And this is one of the great revealings, knowing we're inside of a movie. Okay? We're in a movie. We're being observed. That's going to be a great reveal once it finally gets sunken into people's minds and they finally realize you are the Truman Burbank character. You are the Jesus Christ superstar having the experience of life. You are the Son in human form. Your light slowed down into physical matter. And now you're an actor or actress on the world stage. So it's just a fantasy. This is what it has right in the lyrics of his song. Life is just a fantasy. It's the game of life. Something's running this reality, and I believe it's running mankind. It's like a game, and the game is called life. And this, I think, this is going to be revealed as well, like on the forefront of the world stage as we move through this entering this age of Aquarius. Knowing that this is the game of life, and you don't have as much control as you think you do. Okay? And so this is really where what it's moving into right here. And a few other people, Kevin Clark, you had, I guess, the great decoder, Kevin Clark, he had shown this, I guess, years ago. I just noticed this, I don't know how long ago it was, maybe a month ago I found this. I was studying electrical circuits. I was studying Ohm's law. I was studying, but you could see that the symbol for the age of Aquarius is tied to the electrical circuit. And so this represents the electrical age. And this may just indeed represent mankind moving with machine, moving perhaps into machine. All right, so this is a big deal right here. And then, is this what we're moving towards right here? Man and machine merging into one to form what's called transhumanism. And again, folks, I'm not saying this is true. I'm just purely giving you something to think about. And I suggest heavily that you become neutral to the outcomes of what may be, because some of you have beliefs and you've put yourself in a box. And when the truth really comes out, when the shift of the world comes, it may not be to your liking. And you're going to have emotional responses to that. All right, so this is really a big deal right here. This 44, and perhaps if you get into music, why was music tuned down to 440 hertz? Well, maybe to make the preparations for mankind to move into this. So we have to take a look at all this stuff, music included, the 440 hertz. A lot of people are like, I'm going to move it into 432. All right, but nonetheless, this 440 and the 44, they match up. And then there's this topic right here, which is really interesting. You ever heard of this word called doppelganger? Well, it's basically, to me, it's your spirit, whatever's tied to you as a human being right here. It's just possible that you have a spirit guide or you have spirit guides, and it's a sliding scale, and they hand the baton off to one another. The angels and demons in the oldest religious text in the world, the Hinduism, it talks about the asuras and the devas, the angels and demons running this reality. Far older text that I've been alive, far older text than you've been alive. Doesn't mean that they're true in 100%. But they're there, and demons and angels are all over the place in so many different cultures. So this 54 is a big deal because just like that, I mean, look at how crystal clear. God is within you. 54. Doppelganger. 54. Same cipher. So is this indicating that we are the God? And is this going to be a big release on the world stage? I mean, this is nothing new, folks. Alan Watts, the great Alan Watts, he's got many lectures on telling you that you are God. And when you take the digits into the source code of the string of pi, 54 appears at digit 191, 192, 193, and that's going to be tied to the element osmium, and now you get the Wizard of Oz. Now you get this whole Oz aspect, the O and the Z or the O and the S. So God is within you, the doppelganger. This, I feel, is going to also be a release. You're going to realize that you are having a symbiotic relationship with the creator or creator that created you. If there is just one, well, then it's controlling everybody. It's literally playing out its own game, experiencing its own game. I have postulated this so many times, as many of you have. And then you get into the television aspect. So, I think this is going to be another big reveal as well, is realizing you're on that we live inside of a movie. Okay? We live inside of a movie. You're in it. It's called life. You're on television. And I will remind you, folks, you see 73 being the outcome of that is linked in mathematics to the 21. 21st prime number is 73, and then it goes to the tarot. And what is this tarot card? The 21st card. And what is Aquarius equal in numerology? 21. Okay? You see that? It's pretty crystal clear. Aquarius is 21. 73 is the 21st prime number, telling you that you're on television, and a new heaven and a new earth, Revelation 21. Okay? The world card. A new heaven and a new earth. If you follow theology, that's that script playing out. And then it's also tied to Ra, the sun god Ra. So I feel like this is going to be another reveal as well, is you were inside of a movie. You're in a movie. All right? Even the word television is 40, and that's a match to the word Westworld. Westworld is 40, television is 40. All right? Using the same exact cipher. And I think this is my last one right here, but the etymology of the word television comes from the Greek word tele, and then the Latin word, which is a separate language, visio. You get the Visio TVs. There it is, through the original numerology breakdown. And look at what you get, folks. I mean, it's crystal clear. 64. How many codons in our DNA? How many squares in a chessboard floor? You see? Television. You're on television. And you're going to get the fish here. How many fish did the Christ catch with the apostles when they casted their nets to the right? 153. Right there. All right, gadolinium is 35 in numerology, which matches the word simulation. We have a new simulation that's going to be starting up. It already has. You don't feel it. You don't see it. Perhaps we get this. Perhaps we get the Mandela effect. Maybe this is one of the requisites of telling us we're moving into this new age. Everything's kind of going haywire. This is where we're getting these changes coming in. Okay, as we move into the electrical age. And keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, that it's very possible that Aquarius, because if Pisces, no matter which, if you go counterclockwise or clockwise, Pisces will always be number 12, always. And then if you go below, you got Aries. But if you go above, you got Aquarius, and that's 11. But we're moving towards Aquarius, away from 12. Are we going into age number? You could say we're moving into age number 1, a starting over point. Okay, we could say that. I know Aries is 1, but Pisces is 12 and we're moving out of Pisces. So we can say we're moving into number 1, a brand new world. And is it going to be a digital one, folks? Well, I mean, who here uses a rotary phone? I mean, there's literally no more payphones anymore. All these things are being removed. Think about it. A new heaven and a new earth. No more rotary phones. No more record players. No more 8-track players. No Rand McNally maps. No more libraries. No more churches. Don't need them anymore. That's a new heaven and a new earth, ladies and gentlemen. Sure, there may be a cleansing. There may be some solar flare that comes down and wipes it. There may be like an EMP, and there may be a lot of things that may be happening on the world stage between now and whenever, in the now moment. But the new heaven and new earth has been being made. It's being made every single day of every single second right now. And the preparation has already been, laid out for this age of Aquarius. And if you just get excited about what could be versus you trying to push up and resist against what, you don't like on the world stage, well, I mean, again, I go back to what are you giving your energy to? This is so important moving into the age of Aquarius. Like when they say using all your brain, like Lucy and all that stuff, it's just waking up and realizing that you have a brain that you can use to create with instead of being influenced by somebody else's creation. People just love to be entertained. And with entertainment comes marketing. With entertainment comes marketing. So if you go to your favorite football team, if you go to the stadium and go watch the game, who's getting that energy? Someone's getting it. I had said many, many times that musicians, the body, the blood in the body, it's your oil. Without it, you wouldn't be here, okay? So it's a very important piece of a human being. And what if you're a musician and you're up on stage and you got 25, 30,000, 100,000 people staring at you, screaming your name? Do you know what kind of energy you get? Whoo! Massive amounts of energy. Like overload energy. That's why musicians, they'll tell you, man, there's nothing like you going out there on the world stage, that rush of people. Yeah, because you have all these eyeballs staring at you and the energy you collect it. And is it possible that when it's time to pay up, because when that blood gets spilled, that the energy that's been in that body, it's got to go somewhere. So is this part of the recycle process of how this reality works? I know I'm getting a little off topic here, but these are the things that I think about all the time. So how much juice you got? Again, everything needs acknowledgement. People crave attention. They crave it. They'll do anything to get it. And then they have building up energy in their body. I mean, getting into the age of Aquarius, some more, ladies and gentlemen, what are we doing with all these applications on the phone? I've talked about this many times. I'll say it again. You can make yourself look perfect with certain applications on your phone. You take a picture of yourself, you can take off freckles, blemishes, wrinkles, make your hair different colors, your eyes sparkle. You could take in your waist. You can enhance things. You can minimize things. You can make yourself look like somebody that it's not even you. And then that whole funny thing is, have you ever got catfished before? Catfish is where somebody contacts you and they use a picture that's not them and they use a story that's not anything about their lives and they reel you in through what you see and what you hear and what you're told. Only to come to find out the person wasn't who they were, who they said they were, who they were portraying themselves to be. It's called catfishing. And we're all little fish down here swimming in the fishbowl. It's really interesting with these words that we use and the etymology of them and et cetera, et cetera. There's a reason why English is the most spoken language on the world stage today. Doesn't mean it's better than any of the other ones. There's a reason why. Various reasons why. But going back to these applications, ladies and gentlemen, you can make yourself look perfect. Are we moving into a digital paradise? Meaning, you can make yourself be whoever you want to make yourself be. You can look however you want to look. And then it won't matter about having to go on a date or go show yourself in person, because maybe there will be no more people. Maybe you're just going to show up with your virtual reality glasses, and then, you can make yourself be anybody. I mean, there was a cool show that came out called Peripheral. Many of you recommended I decoded it. I decoded a few of the slides. With a few slides, I mean. Interesting. Another interesting show. It was all about the virtual reality glasses, putting those suckers on and going into a different world, a different dimension. So maybe this is going to be the freeing moment. Maybe this is kind of one of the perks of moving into the age of Aquarius. You will be able to move around the galaxy, the world, outside of this world. Maybe not physically, but we are moving into a digital age. We're already there. I shouldn't say we're moving. We already have moved in. We're not in analog anymore. That's gone. I mean, again, it's how much can you do with the space you have? The old computer, I got a Mac Mini, right? My main computer is a Mac Mini. It's this big. It's the size of a book. Do you know what kind of power it has? If I compare it to the huge towered desktop I used to have, with all those moving parts, everything's getting condensed down and getting faster and more powerful. What does that tell you? It's pretty easy to see. All right, let's go to some of your comments. This is a good, so Thomas Lambert, blood is living water. That's a good point. It is, right? That's your oil. See, this body right here ends up suffering at some point in your life. Part of the human being experience. Like what back in the day, in February I hit 50, and I'm telling you that to give you an idea of where I am now at 50, almost there. And then I go all the way back to like when I was at, prime, like maybe 30. I was invincible back then. Invincible. If I compare it to now, the body dies. It decays. Every time you eat, every time you drink, the body has to move. Movement causes friction. Friction causes breakdown. Breakdown causes decay. Decay causes death. So this thing suffers. Over half of America. Well, I shouldn't know. I take that. Over 500 million people, I think it is, in America. I think that statistic is right. 500, I don't know. Not 500 million, 500,000, excuse me. I think it's over 500,000. I'm not saying this is absolute because I'm referencing off my memory. Over 500,000 people in the US are addicted or have a prescription, I should say, to some kind of painkiller. And maybe you were one of them, which are easily abused. You get into a car accident, your back goes out, your neck goes out, break your leg, it doesn't set right, whatever, and now you're in pain all the time. You'll do anything you have to do to get that pain to go away. You'll do it. So if there's a large amount of people they're on this, and like if I was on pain meds, like I've had a jacked up back and I had to take pain meds just so I was to be pain free. Well, I mean, I know what that would feel like then. Then that's now you rely on the painkillers. No one wants to be in pain. So this thing, I'm bringing that up because this sucker right here, as much as I love having a body, it eventually moves into pain. It eventually moves into like major challenges. That's part of the human being experience. So if you bring in the age of Aquarius, and again, I'm just purely postulating here, I'm throwing at you a possibility. If mankind is moving into machine, you would eliminate this body and you would then eliminate suffering. There would be no more, then you could bring in theology. You could bring in theology, and theology says that there will be no more tears. The pain and suffering will go away. Death will be no more. The pain, the mourning, the outcry, that verse. Well, if you correlate that to the scenario I just painted for you, it fits. Now, I'm not saying it's true, because you could say, you could say, no, that's moving into some people believe you're going to move into a physical paradise and you'll live forever. Maybe that's true. I mean, who knows? Anything's possible. But again, we're talking about a book that no one knows for sure where it came from. No one can absolutely say with a 1 + 1 = 2 of where the origins of it came from. The only thing we can do is perhaps, sit around a campfire and talk about it. But we can determine who uses it. We know who uses it. So forget about who wrote it. You could say it's divinely inspired. Who uses it? The church, the state, the governments. 3 big ones. Doesn't matter what version, they all use a version of it. That should tell you loud and clear who wrote it. And then all those spells being spoken, when someone reads a verse, like I just quoted Revelation 21 verses 1, I just gave that story energy. Now again, this is why it's inevitable and you can't escape it completely, because we're talking about it. So it's contradiction. But just how much gas do you give to these ideas and principles? Because you got to live a balanced life, right? I mean, that's how you're going to live the longest, is staying in balance, just like your blood. But going back to theology again, ladies and gentlemen, who wrote it? What is it all about? What does it mean? And if the church, the state, and the government, and that's why the president, U.S. president, before the inauguration, put their hand on the Bible, swear, go in front of court of law, swear, you'll speak the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. God, the Bible, you see religion, it's all in these main constructs in life. So whoever uses it tells me exactly all I need to know about what it's all about. That's it. And so then that book, when you study that book, I can tell, from my research, it's a book on transhumanism. I know that some of you won't agree with that. That's totally fine. You have a different interpretation of it, then go at it, have at it. These are my opinions. And, I can authentically say right here and right now, I don't have it all figured out. Said it many times before. Some of the things I've said, I've been like 1 + 1 = 2. I've given the answer of 4. I've been wrong. If I laid out all my truths on the table, I guarantee you that if we were going tit for tat and checking off the box like, okay, yeah, that's correct. Nope, that's wrong. I would have some things in there that we deem wrong. No one's got it all right. Nobody. You got to make the truth your own. At the end of the day, you think you're right. I think I'm right. See, that has to come to a unification. And I think that will happen during the age of Aquarius. People will stop fighting over nonsense. And if you eliminate the church, do you know how much division that gets, how much division is then put to death? If you got rid of the church and all this stuff hanging over people, all this guilt they feel because of what the church tells them, if you eliminated that whole archetype, do you know what it would do to mankind? Whew, it'd be very freeing. It'd be super freeing for a lot of people. You mean I'm not going to burn in hell? You know how many people believe that? And again, I'm not here to take away your beliefs. If you think that there's a hell and you're going to really go burn there for your punishment, I believe you're in it. You're in it. You're in hell right now. You got to make heaven out of it. We don't have, every day is not heaven for you. That's what gives you the wherewithal to keep going. And then if you have a heart and you're a human being and you want to help humanity, you go out there and you're like, you know what, I want to go help the world. Well, how do you help the world in the age of Aquarius? You stop fighting against the resistance that just wants your freaking gas. That's one of the requisites. You want to change the world? Stop giving your gas to all these archetypes that are just marketing to you and influencing you, and you're falling for it. That's going to be one of the requisites. You want to make a utopia out of this world? Stop giving your gas to the influencers. Take that energy back and go create on the world stage something that will influence and create the ripple. You need to be the change. You need to raise your consciousness, however that looks like to you. Shedding off a lot of layers of guilt and shame and everything you've done in your past, that doesn't mean anything anymore. The past is dead. Some of you still hold on to things that happened in your past like it's luggage or your favorite pair of shoes and you wear them every day, but it sucks. You got to get rid of that crap to move into a new you in the new age. You can see, if you're someone who follows the esoteric, if you're a fan of the esoteric, and if you're a fan of like sacred geometry, all the number and all the source code that we all talk about, you want to move with it. Same thing, like if you have a birthday, a solar return, do you want to go with the flow of the numbers? Well, if you believe in them, you would. So if you're, let's say, 45 years old, you have the 4 and the 5 to deal with, and then you got the total addition of the number 9. So you're essentially walking around as a human being through the age of 45, and you're under the guise of the numbers 4, 5, and 9. Is that an advantage to your life? Of course it would be. But if you're living your life like you're living through the cycle of a 1 or a 2, well, then you're kind of going against the grain of how this reality works and the source code and how it works. So if you're 45, you have the 4 and the 5, and then you have energy going to the number 9. And just to simplify, you're in a 9 cycle. And this is advantageous. So when you go to work, you're in a 9 cycle. When you go visit family, you're in a 9 cycle. If you get into a new relationship, you're in a 9 cycle. What does the 9 cycle mean? Just go study the 9 life path. You don't have to be a life path number 9 to go through a 9 cycle. Just, you know what the number 9 means. If you're in a 1, if you're 28 right now, if you're 37 right now, you're in a 1 cycle. 1 is the seed, the new seed being planted. What new seeds are you planting? What new ideas are coming into your mind? Pay attention to. You should consciously be aware of this. This is the power of the age of Aquarius. Know thyself. Know what cycle you're in. Know what cycle you're moving through. See, this stuff wasn't taught in school. But it should have been. But it wasn't. And you can't get mad at the school for that. And you can't get mad at it right now. All you got to do is, again, forget about them. Create your own utopia with your children. When they're going through their solar returns, you know what number they're going through. When you become conscious of this code, folks, the people that know this code, they end up utilizing this code like that. And then when you get really tied into the code, you don't need to do anything because you're so tied. Like, folks, I mean, I speak from experience, all right? My code right now is so blissful. It's like, the old analog radios when you spun the dial. You're trying to find your station. And then you finally get to your station and it's as clear as how I'm talking right now. That's how you want to be in this reality. As less a resistance as you possibly can have in your life will give you the best experiences. It's going to give you the most harmony. It's going to give you the bountiful experiences. But the moment you go out there and you go out into the static and you go into the, that's the buzz of the world, and you feel like you want to go play that game, like, I'm going to go fight that organization that's in this kind of space, good luck with that. Going into the noise thinking you're going to make any more, you're just going to add to that noise. You want to get into a calm, peaceful state where it's clear like this, and you want to have everybody around you in this kind of state of mind as well. And the only way you can be in this utopian world is to get rid of the dystopian world out there. Not give it any energy. It starts with you, ladies and gentlemen. It starts with you. Knowing who you are, knowing why you're here, knowing what cycles you're in, knowing how the astrological and the planets are affecting you, the transits, all these layers. This is the stuff that's going to be revived. And it's starting to come back now, and it will be taught. And folks, as I mentioned earlier, man, those of you that are business owners, you should know your employees. You should know what their astrological signs are. You should know what cycles they're in. You don't need to know all their personal stuff. You're never going to know all the skeletons in their closet. But if you're a really good business and you become really authentic, and it's one of the requisites to stay at a company like that, like I had this, like talking about that right now, there's an amazing show that I just finished called Billions. I have mentioned this a few times. Some of you have probably seen it, watched it. It's literally playing the game of life at the highest level. It's talking about billionaires. They are in the game. But this show is based upon a trading company, hedge funds, et cetera, et cetera. And in-house, he had a psychiatrist. She was in-house, and all the employees had to go to her. Why? Why did he make that a mandatory thing? Because he wants his employees fresh. He wants them with a clear mind. He wants them to dump their problems. Some of you don't go to psychiatrists. You probably should, just to go dump your problems on that person, just to get it out. That's like confession. Just so somebody can hear you out, to get it off you, man, to get it out of your head. So this was a great analogy of this show that I watched, because he had an in-house, and that was a requisite to work there. I think that this is what's going to probably take place during the age of Aquarius. You're going to see a lot more companies that are probably going to have in-house psychiatrists, or at least somebody you can go and talk to, and it's going to be mandatory. I would make it mandatory. And of course, that's like attorney-client privileges, so it's not like your boss is going to be able to look at your records. But these are the ideas I think about as we move into this age of Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen. How do we refine the human being experience? How do we refine it? Because we're doing that through this wealth of information coming in. We're refining the human being experience. And one of them is studying these mystical art platforms, these esoteric platforms that have been kind of suppressed. Because there was no need for this when you have church, state, and government telling you what to do and what not to do. They have been programming you. That was their job. Essentially, if you just look at it as an archetype, state and governments, the church and this one, the job of these archetypes during the age of Pisces were to influence people, to program people so they can basically be the shepherds. Well, now people are waking up and they're realizing, well, like, I don't need a shepherd. What would that look like? I mean, yeah, there needs to be speed limits and the basic fundamentals so people don't go crazy. And, I think there needs to be some kind of, laws like that and stuff like that. But you see, when you're in the dark age, ladies and gentlemen, even the highest levels of the archetypes, the shepherds, they get corrupt. So you're dealing with a society that's corrupt to the core. It's like we're dealing with a society that's like 80 years old in a human being form. or 100 years old. It's got no teeth, completely wrinkled skin, tons of cancer cells. It's got this disease, this sickness, this ache, this pain. It's got a fake hip. It's got a knee replacement. It's got no more teeth. This is where we're at right now in this day and age. Age of Pisces, the transition over. You're dealing with if we take the transition over from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius, you're dealing with the end of a cycle. And the end of a cycle, if you correlate that to a human being, it's the human being at the end of their life. A ton of knowledge, a ton of information, but worthless in society because you need to have someone wipe your ass. I mean, that's, pretty severe. You turn into a baby again. So we can take the same analogy and use it for the transition from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. You're having all this information, like a 100-year-old person living onto the world stage. They've been through different cultures. They speak 10 languages. They've been through, so many different scenarios, experiences. They're really heavy with intelligence, but they end up turning into a little baby. They're helpless. They can't get around without assistance. They're handicapped. That's where we're at right now. But then we're going to transition into the age of Aquarius, and we're going to move back into that baby state where people are going to be like, "Oh my God, I don't have any disease. I'm sick free." We could be moving into that. It's very possible we could be moving into that because of technology and man being able to heal the body through technology, through things that now the pharmaceuticals, and we don't need that stuff anymore. Pharmaceuticals, that's all Piscean age stuff. We're now getting into lasers and sound healing and, back to the Tesla coils and, and the Rife machines. And we're going to move back into that because that's what's going to heal the planet. And getting rid of the old ways, the Rand McNally maps and the rotary phones, that's the pharmaceuticals and the states and the governments. And if there's going to be a new state and government, if those are not going to go away, those need to be recreated because the old ones are dead. They're old people. So you're going to create these new empires are going to unfold if this is the way the collective is going. And you need to start looking at it like a fresh little baby empire. Like in the United States. If you're from the United States, if you were born in the United States, 1776, July 4th, Declaration of Independence. When those people got together to form the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, they built it on honesty, integrity. Now, I'm not saying it was 100% 5-star rating back then, but when you build a new republic, when you build a new government, it's less likely to have infiltration in it. It's less likely to have a deep state in it. It's less likely to have corruption in it because it's new. People like new shit. If you had the ability to go buy a brand new car, you'd love to go do that because maybe you drive a car that has a lot of miles on it and you're afraid it's going to break down, or maybe it breaks down all the time. You got to spend all your extra money on it because it's just, sucking all your money out. Just keeps breaking down. So that same what is that feeling for you? If you have a car that just continues to break down on you, what does that feel like? It pisses you off. You get angry. It lowers your frequency. You're like, oh God, again? I just did the brakes last week. Now I got to fix this. Now it's this. And it becomes a money pit. So then you get the ability to buy a brand new car. What happens when you get that new car? Man, I've been dreaming of this day. Well, if we take that same scenario, ladies and gentlemen, all of us should apply that to moving into the age of Aquarius. But you know what the world's doing today? They're not doing that. They're so angry and pissed off and they're fighting. And then you know what they'll say? Well, if nobody fights, then they're just going to do this. No, ladies and gentlemen, if we just take the power back from what we're giving to the world stage and put it into something that you want to create as a utopia, and if everybody did that, it's not going to happen overnight. It would force out the cancerous cells of the world. If everybody started to create a utopia in their own special way, individually, and it rippled out, that ripple would push out it's like a brand new body. Like if a baby's born pure, there's cells in there that are instantly going to attack the body. Bacteria, cancer cells, they instantly, once the baby is born and you come into this world, you're instantly under attack. Instantly. By all these external forces. We don't die, we kill ourselves. Black Sabbath, you're killing yourself to live. To satisfy your identity, to satisfy your desires. I'm hungry, I'm going to go get some ice cream. That's you giving into your ego. Don't even pay attention to that. Oh, I want some cake. And then you feel guilty about it because you ate too much. And that guilt weighs you down. Just one little thing about, I ate too much, and then you do it again, then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you have all this guilt. Where does that guilt go? It goes inside. You get emotionally attached to it. You see, these are the things we need to become consciously aware of. Doesn't mean you don't have a reaction to eating food that's not, is not good for you. But it's time for us to really stand up and raise our consciousness and start to pay attention to those that are important in our lives, that have influence that is going to match our influence. And if all of us start to do that, we create a ripple. And that ripple grows and grows and grows, and that becomes the collective. That's what shapes the world. But it starts with you, ladies and gentlemen. As we move into the age of Aquarius, it starts with you. You got to be the change. Like Gandhi said, you be the change you want to see in the world. You got to be that change. And part of the change is knowing yourself. Because, like when I do readings for people and I look at their charts and I'm like, man, you're a freaking superstar. What are you doing? Holy shit, you got this, this is amazing. It encourages people. It gives them the conviction to go out there and say, you know what? Yeah, man, I knew that all along, but my parents told me I couldn't do it. Or I knew that all along, but something happened when I was a kid and it held me back. Get rid of the garbage in your past. It's not necessary anymore. Just like the age of Pisces, it's not necessary anymore. That's gone. And everything with it is gone or will be gone. And whatever's about to happen and transpire, it starts with you as an individual, what you're doing on the daily, what you're doing with your children, what you're doing with your partner, what you're doing on the weekends. That's what's going to really forge. And listen, man, the main reason why I did this podcast tonight, the reason why I came on here for all of you, man, this is for the kids, for the children, the youngsters. I don't even have any kids. I love kids. When I walk into a room and there's adults and there's kids, I end up going off with the kids. I don't know, something about it. I just do. The kids that are living today are the future of our world. This is the legacy. You want to leave a legacy behind? Teach your kids about their code. I know thyself. They're not going to get this in school. They're not going to teach this in school, this stuff. It's just not. They're not going to teach you how magic works. They're not going to teach you how tarot works and astrology and all that stuff. So let me go back to this book again. This is the book I'm quoting from, Alan Oken's Complete Astrology, in case you want to get it. All right, it's a good book. It's pretty thick. But this is what he's got to say about the Aquarian age. All right, so it says, thus Uranus extends the ability for mankind to tap the energy of the more highly developed forces at work in the solar system and the insight to use this power in order to raise the general level of consciousness of the earth and its inhabitants. The forces of which we are speaking are not readily available to present-day humanity. Now, this book was written, when did he write this? He wrote this in 76. So obviously that doesn't have any merit anymore. These forces are available right now to use, to raise the frequency of this planet, to change the ripple of this planet, to make an effect on this planet. We can't continue to do the things that we did in the Piscean age, which is fight against wars and fight against everybody, and that'll just get more resistance, more control, and you'll be more of a slave. But it says that in order to properly handle this new increased voltage, the proper physical, mental, and spiritual vehicles have to be developed through the long evolutionary process. Time. You cannot send 500, this is key right here. You cannot send 500 volts through a conductor capable of handling only 100. And that is so true. So this is a easing in process. And everything that's happening on the world stage, folks, there's nothing that happens on accident. There's nothing that happens by chance, especially when it's on a large scale. There's always preparation that's taking place. And, you know, I'm going to show you all let me just get this up here and show you the sidereal. Do I have this? Here it is. Let me just show you the, share my screen now. So I had mentioned earlier that it's very possible that the age of Aquarius officially kind of entered around the year 2016. Now, I know some of you may not agree. That's fine, right? But I'm just going on astrology, looking at the astrological charts, this one being the sidereal, the Vedic, okay? And this one has an advantage over Western in that it has the nakshakras, which are the star seeds, which are these little mini houses that are inside each zodiac sign. Okay, and there's 27/28, depending on which system you use. So this is right here. This is based on my birthday. I used it, but it's 2016. So it could have been May of 2016. It could have been January. It could have been July. It doesn't matter. But I did February because February is in the sign of Aquarius through the Western. It's still going to be Capricorn inside the Vedic, but nonetheless, these things move slow. And what I wanted to point out is this area right here, down here, and this piece right here, which is Rahu. And Rahu is the north node of the moon. The south node of the moon's right here. And really, these are very important with changing the cause of this reality, the identity of this reality. I want you to imagine like Rahu, the north node, the dragon's head. That's what moves. It's the cause of this reality, how it moves. And this nakshatra right here, number 25, is, you can see it's the transiting nakshatra from Pisces to Aquarius right here. It's this number 25. And this, as I showed, if you watch my blockchain decoded, I showed the Genesis block 0 for Bitcoin. This is where Uranus was at, in this 25th nakshatra right here. And there's a wound there with Chiron, so we can bring that into play. We could talk about that. It's in the 5th house. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be in the 5th house because it's going to move with the houses, so there's not a lot of merit here, but it's based off of the time, 1:03 a.m. But it is in this 25th nakshatra, and it's just right there moving into Aquarius. This is 2016. If you move this into 2001, 2012, it's not going to look like this. But again, there are many interpretations of these charts. But what is this 25th nakshatra? What does this thing mean? So it's called Purva. Let me just pull it up here. Right here. Do I have that right? Hold on. Yeah, Purva B. Okay, just want to make sure I had that right. Purva Bharapada. Okay, so this is what it means for this nakshatra. And the favorable, and again, these are just opinions, so I can't say these are absolutely true. You gotta kind of take matters into your hand and really kind of look at it from your perspective. But look at what's favorable here. And one of them is technology. Okay, technology. And then the unfavorable is there's beginnings in there. So a shaky beginning, perhaps, is what this is talking about. And then 25 through alchemy, if you go to the periodic table, we go and look at the element manganese and look at what the icon is they use to describe the manganese element. It's the cow with the magnet there. And is this us? Is this a lot of the human being experience being lifted off the ground? You can get into the rapture story and theology if you wanted to and bring that in here. But this right here, the magnet, and we live in an electromagnetic universe. And that's the 25th nakshatra right here. And there's that 54. And I talked about the 54 being tied to the doppelganger right here. Right? So the one of the releases, one of the pieces of information that you will find out. And you'll come to the conscious level of this understanding is that you are the God. Having an experience, you're experiencing your own game. And this is the doppelganger. So these are all layers that you can connect with the with that 25 and the 25th nakshatra and 2016 with the placement of Rahu there. But again, there are many ways to look at it. Maybe you're somebody who thinks it came in at 2012. I guess it really wouldn't make a difference. See, there's no way to know exactly what day it actually came into play. Even that's just completely theoretical. Me giving the interpretation of what it means to have Rahu there. But again, if you look at the Genesis block 0 for Bitcoin, the 25th nakshatra had the occupying visitor of Uranus there. And Uranus is the father of technology. All right, let me go to your comments. Let's see what we got for all of you. We are headed towards pure love. I can buy into that. I mean, it would obviously, I think everybody here would probably agree that you want to move into a pure love state. You want to move into a unification state. You want to move into a non-divisional state. That's what you want to move into. You want to move into a utopia. I don't think anybody here would want to say, yeah, well, I'd rather move into the dystopia. You want to move into the utopia. So how's that going to happen? And will it happen? Are we out of the dark age? Well, that remains to be seen. Andrew is asking, I am that I am, and immortal is 26. Well, I decoded I am that I am. And this brings up a good point. I am that I am, through where it originally came from, is Hebrew/Aramaic. And when you do the numerology of I am that I am, it's 30. I like to try to get the origins. As much of a fan as I am with the Chaldean, I am that I am came from the Old Testament. And when you convert it into the Hebrew language, it equals the number 30. And 30 matches to the words role play. 30. Okay? So that's what I think about that. But the 26 tied to iron. If you bring alchemy into all your findings with numerology, you're going to start to see that it's going to open up a whole new world, and you're going to start to see things you didn't see before, and you're going to have another tool at your disposal, and you're going to start to figure things out. And you're going to have more, you're going to have more clearer of a picture of how this reality works. And you'll come to the same realization that I've come to, or maybe you will, that mankind is an experiment. We are being used, just like scientists experiment on mice and rats. Think about that. Are you okay with that? You don't give it any thought. You don't think about that. You didn't wake up this morning and say, you know what? Man, there's a lot of rats being experimented, being tortured right now. You didn't give that any thought when you woke up today. But I just gave you the thought of it. How do you feel about that? Does it piss you off? Do you get angry? Are you going to start to protest at the labs because there's mice and rats being experimented on at an extravagant rate? Mankind's being used. That's my final answer. From everything I've found, just like a rat in a cage. That's another great reveal you're going to have. So once you level up and you realize, like, okay, well, who's my doppelganger? Or what's my doppelganger? Are there all these angels and demons in this reality, and it's a sliding scale and they're passing the baton off? Like when you get wicked, when you start to use more of your lower chakras, when you use more of your ego, does the angel pass off to the demon, say, here you go, he's now on your team, or she's now on your team, you can have her. And we're just traded like playing cards in a casino. Is that how this reality works? Danny Wilson talks about the 1890. Yeah, I've got a lot of people recommending the 1899. I don't like that era, like the early 1900s. I get bored with it. Like I've tried to watch shows and movies, and I don't know. Maybe I had a really bad death in that life. I don't know, but I don't enjoy watching that kind of timeline. But I did skip ahead to the last episode, and yeah, it talks about everything that I've been talking about. It talks about everything about Jason from Bashir's from Archaics and what Jordan talks about. And, all of us, we live in a simulation. It's a holographic universe. Go watch the show Dark, man. 1899 came from the creators of Dark. Dark is probably one of the best shows ever. That show. Yeah, all this rat comment. Yeah, I mean, which one did I come out with? I did a decode not too long ago. I don't remember. I have so many videos. I forget where I placed this stuff. I forget where a lot of stuff that I even placed. But in there, I showed the mouse utopia that was created by I can't remember his name now because I didn't study him enough. I don't have the memorization. But they did a mouse utopia. It started off with like 10 mice or something like that. And then there's over 1,000 and things started to break down. Once they got to a massive amount of mice, there started to be things that are not what mice normally do. Cannibalism and male mice humping male mice. And it wasn't what nature does in the mice community. But that's what ended up happening when all these mice were clustered together. And they were cannibalization, and then some of the females didn't want to mate anymore, and all this behavior because they were compressed in such a small space. Now you would think, I live, I got a lot of free room around me. Yeah, I know, but you see, all this information is condensed into your reality. You can get anything at any time, and it weighs you down. And then the knowledge becomes like a liability. Just like everything. Everything is an asset and a liability at the same time, simultaneously running side by side. But anyway, I think I was talking about the demons and the angels. Yeah, I was talking about the angels and demons, the divas and the asuras. And then Christianity made it into the angels and demons by way of the Society of Jesus. They were a big proponent of that, if you study your history. And the angels and demons were supernatural, and they were the watchers, and they were what controlled the reality of this world. So you have your spirit and your ego. There's your angel and demon. That's why I say be the best little devil you can be. You can't help it. But when you become aware of this whole aspect, we become aware of that. We don't know what we're going to think like and how we're going to think and everything. But imagine that you are being controlled by supernatural forces. And when you get on the angelic side of it, you're now, like a lot of people say, I'm a light worker. I work for the light. Now you work in the light, actually. There's nothing light about you. You work in the light. You could say you work for Team Yoda, if you want to use Star Wars. But nonetheless, is there just this team angel and team demon? And when you want to slide down to having fun, and maybe you're at a stage in your life where you want to go out and party and have a good time, well, now you're team Darth Vader. Now you're team red. You're now in the lower chakras. That's where all satiation and sex and procreation, it's all down in the lower chakras. And then if you're not balanced, you may want to go and come up here in the heavenly realms and get a little fix. I found God, I found Jesus. Oh, have you been saved? The people, they get up here. But you see, you can't be here unless you have a symbiotic relationship with the devil down there. So now you're in a trap. You're in duality. You're like, oh, well, you got to get saved, you got to get baptized, because then you're not working for the devil. So instantaneously and automatically, the belief in the whole baptism and stuff, you end up having a symbiotic relationship with the boogeyman. Church isn't needed anymore, folks. You are the church. You don't need to go and be told what to do to be a good person. In the age of Aquarius, folks, you're going to have so many downloads in your mind, you're going to be a brainiac. You're going to have intelligence go up so much. It's kind of a no-brainer. Intelligence will increase. It already has. With all these tools that we can use. I mean, think about it, man. 1980, 1990, you're driving around in the car and you're with your family and the song comes on the radio. And you're like, who sang that song? And no one knows. So you got to wait till you get home, because there was no phones back then, no cell phones. And then you call up your friend, hey, who sang that song? Or you call up the radio station to ask them who sang the song. And then hey, yeah, it was this band. Oh yeah, that's right. You know, folks, see how much time that takes? It takes time to get the answer if you're living back in the 1970s. You have to get in your car, you got to drive to the library and go look it up in the encyclopedia. It takes time, it takes resources. Not anymore. Who sang that song? You just ask it. You can just ask the damn phone, it'll tell you who sings the song. Bam, just like that. You want to know who invented the Rubik's Cube? You look it up. You can just ask the damn question now. And it's instant. That is powerful. That's what we've moved into. The age of Aquarius. Yeah, dark is a voiceover, but you'll get used to it. You'll watch a few episodes and then it'll be, but it's amazing. It's an amazing, amazing show. Christine says, I just envied the Fellowship Church. Is that the one in Grapevine, Texas? I've been there a few times. Amazing church. Amazing church. Ed Young, and I mean, the thing is, I wish I could look at, I should probably, hopefully I remember, but if I looked at Ed Young is the pastor for Fellowship Church. If you've been there in Grapevine, if you've never been, and just to go like, hey, like, I don't follow religion anymore, but like to go there to experience it is like going to a football game or going to a concert. Seriously, it's amazing. And so you go there, and anybody can go there, and everybody's all smiling and happy and lovey and dovey, and that's where you get your fix. You know, you go to church, you get your fix. It's a beautiful, beautiful archetype. But then you go in there and you sit in there, and then you got to listen to, the message about, well, hey, you got the devil coming after you, and now you've created that symbiotic relationship. But anyway, if you set that aside and you get to go experience Ed Young, if he's speaking, he's amazing. And before the sermon, they have like all professional musicians, and they play music. It's freaking amazing, that place. I've been there a few times, man. It is like, every time's amazing. Every time I've gone there. But if I were to look at Ed Young's chart, his astrological chart, I guarantee it'll have pastor in it. He incarnated to be a pastor. So then it just kind of alleviates the burden of like what you're supposed to do with your, like, you know it. It's one thing to know that you're doing something that you love doing, but then it's another thing to confirm it with the astrological charts and your numerology and your cards. And and then no one can tell you anything different. And then you know that eventually you're going to master the craft that you incarnated to become. Eventually. Well, then you would stop at nothing to do it. You wouldn't listen to anybody who says, you can't do that. You're not any good at that. Because they're comparing themselves to you. But you're on your path, and you just stick to your path. You put the horse blinders on, and that's the age of Aquarius. Who cares about what they say? I'm looking at my chart. I'm looking at my blueprint. I am going to go do that. And you're on your way. You see, in the age of Pisces, no, you go to this or you go to that. No, you should do this, and you can't do that. And, you got to go do this, and you got to do it this way. And it's like, man, That's not the age of Aquarius anymore. You can be what you're designed to be, folks. Some of you are Ferraris driving around like you're in a damn Chevette. Some of you are Porsches, but you're driving around like you're in a freaking Prius. How do you get out of that space? I know thyself. I know I'm a Ferrari. I know I'm a Porsche. I know I have a turbocharger. How do you know that? Because I've seen my blueprint. Because I've seen my specialties. I have seen my weaknesses. See, once you see your weaknesses, you can manage them. But a lot of you are trying to focus on your weaknesses because you feel like you're a one-man show and you got to do it, or you're too afraid of going to ask somebody, or whatever your reasons are. But see, most of you that are new to astrology or the cards or the tarot or numerology, you still haven't discovered your true essence of what the hell you came here to do. Why did you incarnate into this reality? Well, now you know. The age of Aquarius is go study yourself. Go decode yourself. I have a course coming out. Been saying this, I have a course coming out. I do. And it will be revolutionary. I'm very confident that it will be. And it will be perfectly ready to come out when it's going to come out. And it's, again, it's exciting because you see the map. I can see the map of the way this world is going, where it's going. Not paying any attention to what could be. Like there's going to be a pole shift and there's going to be chaos and there's going to be a solar flare. And that's all fine and dandy, folks, but that just deflects you from your mission. A lot of people during the Piscean age were waiting for the end to come and it never did. And their worrying and fear and doubt, it stopped them from doing the true essence of what they came here to be. And then you'd say, well, wait a minute, if it's scripted, they were supposed to be doing that. And I will say, you're right. But we're in a different age now. We're in a different cycle now. We're in a different set of energies. We're in a different symbiotic relationship with the house of Leo. Back during the age of Pisces, you're having a symbiotic relationship with Virgo. We're now moving into a symbiotic relationship with Leo the Lion. Leo the Lion is a very extrovert kind of energy. It's a fire energy, and it's dealing with Aquarius, which is an air sign. When you take fire and air and you combine them together, it gets hotter. It gets expansive. So it's much different when you're dealing with a Virgo and a Piscean energy combining together. Okay, you're dealing with a much different, it's a mutable energy, it's much different. You're getting into a fixed energy now. Singularity, unification, that kind of stuff. But that's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm seeing some of these comments. If you put your energy every day into what could be, and that could be is like, oh my God, I'm worried this is going to happen. I did this. Personally, I did this. I can authentically tell all of you, I have done this in my life, in my past. Worrying about what's going to happen and then mapping out my life around that outcome that is a possibility, which I can't verify and guarantee, which is a contradiction because you're going to do that no matter what right now. All of you are looking for the best experience in life. And that's all you want. You've 86'd all the bad experiences, but you know what? The bad experiences are still coming. The ones that we call bad. So it's time that we raise the consciousness of the planet up, and that's becoming aware that you are responsible for your energy, and if you have kids, for theirs as well, until they become, self-sufficient on their own. But then again, you need to be teaching your kid. I shouldn't say need to. You should be teaching your children this stuff. The school ain't gonna do it. That's why those things are gonna be phased out or changed to a major degree. It's like the whole entire world needs an overhaul. And we're getting it. Not overnight, but we're getting it. But we're at the tail end of this, right? We're still in that transitional period. So you're getting, There's no rules anymore. It's like everything's out on the table. How you react to what you're finding out right now is crucial to where this place is going to go. Which is why if you just shut off the static, you will not have the temptation to give an emotional reaction to the things that you hear, see on the world stage. You are not going to be a participant in it. When you don't participate in that, you don't have any emotional reactions to that, you end up taking that energy back, putting it into something that you can create something utopian with, and it also alleviates the burdens of the stress, worry, and fear of what you're seeing and hearing on the mainstream. Because when you have that a part of your life, you will have worry, stress, and fear come into your life. Because you'll wonder, like, what if this is going to happen? What if I'm not in the right place? And what's going to happen to this in my family? Do you know how many people, that's all they live their lives through? That whole cause. And it's all being influenced and marketed by all these entities out there, these archetypes, these companies. And that's what their job is. These archetypes, it doesn't matter if they know it or not. Their job is to tear you down. Some of them. Just like the bacteria that comes in your body, what do you think its job is? You think it's just coming into your body and just hanging out like it's a hotel and it's just going to party? Bacteria, the ones that take the body down, what created that? Oh, it's the devil that created that. Yeah, all the bacteria and the cancer cells, that's all the devil's work. Inside your body, you have the white blood cells for your immune system, just using one as an example, which they go after the bacteria. What created the white blood cell? Well, obviously, there would not be any need for a white blood cell inside the body unless there was a foreign invader that was going to come in, because the foreign invader, it doesn't have a job without the white blood cell, and the white blood cell doesn't have a job without the foreign invader. So whatever created the human being, whatever created the human body, created it in a dualistic format. Just by looking at the immune system versus what attacks the immune system. You wouldn't need an immune system if there was no attackers coming in your body. You wouldn't need it. But you have one. It was designed to take care of the invaders. This reality works the same way. You have your archetypes, you have your parasites, you have your reptilians or whatever things you've conjured up. You have those entities, and then you have the forces of light working against them. The white hats versus the black hats, and it's the wars that go on. There's a war going inside your body right now. At this very moment, there's a war going on. You don't even pay any attention to it. But there is one going on right now. So you just look at your body and you realize, okay, well, something made me. I have a white blood cell and that's attacking the adversaries. Well, then you just extend that onto the world stage as we move into this age of Aquarius, knowing this information, realizing like, okay, well, there's going to be attackers and there's going to be attackers and they're going to fight and all that kind of stuff. That's what their job is. Their design is to do that. The church's design is to fight the devil. If there was no devil, there wouldn't be no necessary means for a church, and vice versa. So once you create an archetype, the archetype then has, if you create a company, you're going to have competition. And what does competition create? Resistance. What does resistance create? Energy. What does energy create? It creates this reality called life. That's why we live inside of a battery. We're moving into the electrical age, ladies and gentlemen. We're creating a new world. Aquarius is 21. This is the 21st card in the deck. We're creating this, a new heaven and a new earth, if you like theology. And the age of Aquarius is not going to be anything like the age of Pisces. Nothing. I mean, it's going to slowly ease into it. But think about just the technology now and 10 years ago. 2022 and then 2012. Look at the phones in just 10 years. Whew, it's night and day. All right, so Miriam says raising your children based on their code is next level of parenting. It is. It's the way to parent. Even your freaking animals, folks. If you know their birthdays, you can find out their cards. You can look at their astrological charts. I'm telling you, they're connected to you. Past life. If you believe in past lives, if you believe in, incarnating into a different, that's what dark talks. There's no other logical explanation for how you're starting to see these things in your life, these patterns, these source. Why is it happening now? Why are we remembering? We're becoming a member again. Remember. That word re. History repeats itself. Repeat. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. The age of Aquarius is not going to be anything like the age of Pisces, but we're going to do it again. And again, ladies and gentlemen, it's very, very possible that we will move into machine. Fully, I don't know. But we are going to merge with machines in some way, shape, or form. Remember, man, we got, if the ages are right, man, we have 2,000 years of this, maybe more. Depending on where we're at. Some people don't even think we've entered the age of Aquarius. Okay. But this doesn't look like the age of Pisces right here. At all. So if we have 2,000 years of the age of Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen, you know how long I'm not going to be here. You're not going to be here. Our kids will. And then, their children. So if we parent the children now, if they were to bring astrology and numerology into the schools, man, it would be a game changer. But maybe someone will end up doing that. I don't know. I mean, cannabis is legal. Come on, go back 30 years. And you would have never thought that. I mean, some people probably thought, yeah, it's going to be legal one day. But I mean, at the level it's at right now, how about the prohibition of alcohol? These changes come in. Why did talk about cannabis. Why did the legalization of cannabis come now? Why? Why now? I mean, within the past 5-10 years, like this decade. Why now? Because we're moving into the age of information. You toke it up. I love cannabis. Some people, it's medicine. Did you take a hit of cannabis? That doesn't have chemicals in it, because there is most of the stuff in the what you call it? I don't even know what would be in those things. In the dispensaries, I think. I'm not sure, and I'm just purely giving you my opinion because I'm not a pro in this. But I'm sure that there are cannabises out there that are being sold in the stores now that have a lot of chemicals. Because back in the day when I first started that stuff, I was 16 maybe. I tried it a few times here and there. I was all into like Metallica and Black Sabbath, and it just made the music sound so much better. It enhanced my senses. It made life fun. For someone who's been an introvert their whole life, I became super extrovert on it. I was like, yeah. I'm a lot of fun if I have cannabis. People love being around me when I'm on cannabis. I get really extrovert. I get really funny. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of getting off topic. What I'm saying is that cannabis comes in, it gets legalized now during the age of Aquarius. Why? Because when you take a toke, when you take an edible, whatever, man, you go deep. You go deep. During the age of Pisces, 50 years ago, they still had it, but it was no. You ain't going deep. Right? You're at the last sign of Pisces, the 12th sign, the hangman, the 12th house, the shadow. Right? Much different energy. Now the age of Aquarius comes in, the legalization of cannabis comes in. It's a no-brainer. And now that you're getting into nootropics and you're getting into the legalization, probably next is going to be mushrooms. And this is why ayahuasca and DMT, where were those things 20, 30 years ago they weren't around. They were around, but they weren't commercialized and marketed like they are today. Why are they commercialized and marketed today? Because of two reasons. Number one, we're in the age of Aquarius. And number two, because we have the ability to market to people like we never have before. These channels of communication through this Aquarian age, through computer age, you can market to, I mean, if you know how to do marketing and you know how to do funnels and you get into all that kind of stuff, you can market to a ton of people. If you're doing target marketing on social media, you just check boxes off, it goes to certain selected people. You can start to cherry pick exactly who you want to see your ads, et cetera, et cetera. You couldn't do that stuff 20 years ago. Hell no. Now you can target market people. That's way more powerful. And why is that coming into play right now? Because you're moving into the age of Aquarius, or you've moved into the age of Aquarius, and it is all about the I know thyself age. The information age. The intelligence age, right? That's what you're moving into. Some of you people are funny, man. God. That's so funny. Yeah, yeah, and then you have these other ones, opioids. Someone said opioids. Lisa says, cannabis makes me super paranoid most of the time. Well, again, I would just, we have to make sure we're checking all the things off the list here. So number one, where are you getting your cannabis from? That is the most important thing, first and foremost, above anything else. Forget about the strain and forget about what somebody told you about it, how it made them feel. Where did it get grown at? Who grew it? What was added to the fertilizer? Was there any chemicals added to it to make it stronger, more powerful, et cetera, et cetera? Because if you get, like I had some cannabis, which I don't even partake in it, maybe once or maybe probably a few times a month now. Not like I used to. I was like every day. I actually prefer to have cannabis in my system. It was like medicine to me. But then I conform to it. So then I get used to it, and then the feeling's not as good, and then you don't behave the same. Life becomes boring, and you folks, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, here in Mexico, I had someone down the road give me some Mexican marijuana, and it was way different. It was way different. Like, I'm used to the cannabis now. You go and buy in the U.S. and you smoke one hit, man, you go crazy. If you want to see the funniest skit on marijuana, the funniest ever, Louis C.K. And his skit about smoking cannabis, smoking marijuana, it is probably the most funniest stand-up piece I've ever watched. Louis C.K. Whether you like the guy or not, forget about what he's done. Just the content's amazing. But anyway, I'm a huge cannabis fan, and it allows you to go deeper. But it's definitely the cannabis places now, man. Who knows what's in them? I don't grow it, so I don't know. I don't know how it's made. But, as supply increases, you want to yield your crops better. How do you make the crystals become more dominant on the plant, et cetera, et cetera? Well, I don't know. I don't know what goes into that. But I can tell you right now, the stuff I used to smoke when I was 16, you could smoke a whole joint. Now, you can't do that. You'll be in the bathtub, man. So is Steven still in here? Steven, Steven's our moderator. Big shout out to Steven Segura. Steven, there's a guy, I shouldn't say a guy, there's somebody in here with the letter Z as their avatar, which I've removed. I put him on timeout. Can you just make sure you watch? Because it's just toxic and this person keeps coming in, and it's just, don't want to have any toxicity here. Thank you. Dr. Sebi said stay away from hybrids. Yeah, Dr. Sebi was great, but the thing is, the challenge with Sebi is, man, is like you can't eat anything. It's like you can't have carrots. You can't have, it's like, man, well, what do I got to eat? Freaking just dirt off the ground? I mean, I know. I mean, I'm being very abstract here with that. Outdoor gardens are the best. Yep. And as I say, if you're going to go plant something because you love plants and you love nature and you love to have fresh vegetables. Don't plant a garden because you fear food shortages, because the energy that you're going to dump into your garden is going to be a negative fear energy. That's how this stuff works, ladies and gentlemen. If you go out there and you're smiling, you know, when I was in sales growing up. I've been through plenty of telemarketing jobs, and it was always just smile and dial, you know. Why do you smile when you dial? Because when you get on the phone, you're like, hey, what's going on? Smile and dial. Well, that same energy is exactly the way someone plants a garden. You go out there and plant a garden because you're afraid that there's not going to be any food anymore. That's the energy you're going to put into the garden. Same thing with growing weed. I know people, the grow houses, they may play classical music. It may grow the plant differently. They may use different lights. They may use different settings. This is all strategy with this stuff. And this is where the Age of Aquarius is going to have its foothold and everything. There will be strategies now, ladies and gentlemen. We're moving into strategy. Aquarius is a fixed sign, a fixed meaning strategy. What is your strategy going to be? My strategy is based off of my astrological chart. My strategy is going to be based off of the choices I have. And look, I just picked it right up. There it was. Perfect. Bam. 7 of hearts, 7 of cups. Choices. My strategy is based off of what are my choices? Strategic. How do you get strategic? You got to have all the moving pieces. You got to have all the moving players. You got to know how all the things work. You can't operate your owner's manual if you don't know how it works. Not to a high efficiency. And if you were raised by other people, I think you would. You probably all got parents or raised by aunts and uncles and grandparents, however you were raised. Those people raised you based on their code. Like my parents were born in the 40s. So they raised me when I was growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, well, 70s and 80s. They raised me from a 40s and 50s perspective, or 50s and 60s perspective. If you just take the aspect of music, the music now or the music in the 80s. I was an 80s kid. I was a huge hair metal guy, Glam and Poison and Quiet Riot and Metallica and, you know, Black Sabbath, and, you know, I was a rocker. And then if you take that and you go all the way back to the 50s with my parents, they were listening to like Elvis and the Beatles, and there's like night and day on the tonality of the music. Now, the stuff you're getting, it can get really dark because you're in the dark age. You have moved so far away from source that the 50s music was the record. You've moved away from this slow, fun, la 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 la, that kind of music. You've moved into you moved into that kind of stuff because you've moved through the cycle. And you get into the darkness, and now you're in the dark age. And now what comes in the dark age? All the heaviness. The heaviness. Anything goes, no rules, no regulations. All these things are being lifted. And now you move into the age of Aquarius. And it's just, you have full access to everything and anything you want. The music industry, if you're in the music industry, think about how the music industry has worked. When I was growing up, the music industry thrived off of making albums, writing albums, recording studios, and then selling those albums in record stores, playing those songs on the radio to increase their sales, albums going gold and platinum. Then they'd go on tour, but a big, large portion of their cash for the band was based on record sales. Well, if you're in the music business, I mean, I was a little bit into it when I was in LA, right? I was hanging out with friends that were heavily in the music business. So I watched it, and they all told me, especially one guy, I'm not going to mention, he was a huge manager for a huge band that I was lucky to be friends with. He was an amazing human being. And he was telling me how like these bands had to completely shift the way they did their business and how they ran their companies and their band and how they made their money because sales of records went down. There wasn't much profit anymore in record sales because everybody was downloading through Napster and you're getting digital now. Everybody's moving into MP3. Everybody's file sharing. So the bands and music industry had to shift and move into being creative about how they're going to make their cash. Right? Well, if you use that same analogy, what is going on in your life through the age of Aquarius that you have to make changes on because we're moving into a digital age? It's inevitable with or without our consent. These are some standards as we move into the age of Aquarius. These are standards that come with the electrical age. And again, one of them, I believe, is cryptocurrency. Now, you can make it look evil if you want to, just like you can make anything look evil if you want to. But if that's what is the groundwork that's being laid down, if that's the new piping for the age of Aquarius, you know, and you don't have any, and I'm not marketing for anything, I'm just giving you things to think about. I don't care. I don't live in your shoes. But are you prepared? I mean, does it make you, are you fearful that you're not prepared? And then you're living from that space. You need to get out of that state of fear first, and then at least be neutral, and then come from a space of neutrality, and then you can create to prepare. Like your body is always preparing you to go out into the world. When you get a headache, the body's going to do what it needs to do to get rid of the headache. It's always constantly trying to fix the equilibrium of, you know, when you go, so it wants to stay in homeostasis is where it's at. So if you just live your life like that, be slightly love. You know what happens when your body is slightly alkaline? Cancer cells can't thrive. When the planet moves slightly service to others, when the collective, not just you, when the collective consciousness moves slightly love, then the cancer on the world stage will start to dissipate. It can't survive in a loving environment. It just can't do it. It can hang around, it can set up shop, but it needs food. You're never going to get rid of it, man. Just like the bacteria in your body, you're never going to get rid of it. There's always going to be some kind of evil on the world stage, but it can be minimized. Minimized. So you want to be, if the consciousness of the entire planet moves slightly love, slightly alkaline, just like the blood pH, 7.3, 7.4, slightly alkaline. If we all just followed that, then it would start to change and move the direction of this world. Not right away, but it would start to do that. But we need to be conscious of that first. And in order to become conscious of that, we need to start turning off the mainstream and not paying attention to these people that want your energy, that are continually to market to you, or continually telling you, you got to do this, you got to do that. I mean, eventually, yeah, they're going to run out of space. They're going to run out of opportunity to set examples. They're going to run out of opportunities to do things their way. And it'll be forced to change. That's how change is made. Change doesn't happen in a major way when you go push up against it. You end up clashing and you end up creating a big bang amount of energy, and it just causes more chaos. And the ripple goes out. It's like a nuclear bomb being detonated. A thermonuclear bomb, when it detonates, the mushroom cloud goes out and everybody feels that shock wave. That's how energy is created when people go to war, when people are going to, I'm going to go to the polls and I'm going to vote today. That's like a thermonuclear explosion at the voting polls. Even though it doesn't even matter because those people are selected. There's no voting. Voting's just a big illusion to make you look like you chose the side. Makes you feel good. Keeps politics alive. That's what it does. But again, we're really in the age of darkness. And so you're going to have corruptness to the core. You're going to have a lot of cancer cells. It's at the end of its life. The transition from going from a senior citizen to a baby-like state, and then going from a baby that doesn't really know much. This is like all brand new. That's how the transition of these ages kind of look like. So imagine again, if you take yourself, whatever age you're at, fast forward to the end of your life. What is that going to look like? Well, you probably don't want to think about that. I don't. Who the hell does? But if you fast forward and you were able to imagine someone had a video and they said, hey, I have a video of you in the last year of your life. Do you want to watch it? Would you watch it? Would you want to see what you look like? Would you want to see what your life looks like? If someone could show you the last year of your life, would you be interested in checking that out? Well, it doesn't really matter if you were or if you weren't. It's kind of cool to think about. Kind of would be a cool movie, a science fiction movie. Someone selling people's future lives for the last year of their life. But anyway, this is exactly how this reality works, how these ages work. We move towards almost dying. Okay? And a lot of senior citizens, they go to nursing homes. They can't take care of themselves. They move back to the baby state. And now they need to be taken care of, just like they were when they came out of the womb in the first place, when you were a little toddler. Need to be taken care of, need to be fed, need to be looked over. Need to be taken to the hospital, you're taking them to the hospital. What happens to people that are ready to, kick the bucket when they're ready to pass on from this life? Maybe they have a lot of medical issues. Now they have their kids taking them to the hospital, and the roles are reversed. This is these ages, man. The age of Aquarius, from the age of Pisces, we're at that stage. Imagine the elderly person ready to die. And then it's just, there's a lot of darkness, a lot of trips to the hospital. There's a lot of chaos going on in that person's life. They're falling down, they're breaking stuff. We're at that space right now. And eventually we're going to break out of that and move into the baby stage, and the baby stage is going to need nurturing. The baby's going to need to be taught how to create the future, because we're creating an embryo. The age of Aquarius, I want you to look at it like it's an embryo. Brand new embryo inside the egg. You're in the egg. It's called Earth. And the hive mind creates the embryo. And for however long these ages are, we collectively create this embryo, and we give birth to something. Who knows what happens? But the time is now to take the control in the palm of your hands. Stop focusing on the mainstream and focus on you and your family and the people around you. Make the change. Be the change that you wish to see in the world. Don't try to tell people, wake people up. That's not your job. Just go be the example. When you're an example, when you go out into the world and you're not wearing the face diaper, you are telling people. That's silently making a change. You don't have to say shit when you go out into the world and you're not wearing that face diaper. People are like, what the hell's going on? Remember, everybody's wearing them and you ain't wearing them, everybody's staring at you. That's being the black sheep. That's you making the change. You don't have to say anything. People just look at you and be like, oh, damn, I'm wearing that. This person's wearing it. But the other person's not wearing it. Why? How come they're not wearing it? That's how change is created. You don't have to resist anything. Everybody just stop wearing it. Screw you. I'm not going to wear it. But not enough people got in on that. You only had the minority. Minority doesn't push the collective consciousness. Not like the collective does, obviously. So in the age of Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be all coming down to I know thyself, yourself, you and your family and your children, your animals even. And that's it. If you get off by going to church, then don't let anybody stand in your way. Keep going to church. But know what you're doing when you go there. Know what it's about. If you feel like you want to go that deep dive down. Like I said, man, I'm a fan of Ed Young, the pastor over at Fellowship Church. He's freaking amazing at what he does. It's like going and watching a movie. Literally. And he's really charismatic. He's really good at it. Like if you want to go watch a pastor, go to Grapevine, Texas, and go to a Fellowship Church sermon. That's a fun ride. I'm not going to go up to the stage and say, you know what, Ed Young, I think what you're doing is complete bullshit. Why would I want to do that? What you're saying is wrong. Why would I even go waste my time to drive to Fellowship Church to go tell Ed Young that he's saying things that are wrong? Why would I want to do that? But that's what people do. They get the opportunity. They may not have to get in their car, but people in this day and age, they just got to tell you what's on their mind. Well, hey, Betty, you should be doing it this way. You shouldn't do that. Oh my God, I can't believe you did that. Because they're not doing your way of life. And that causes just a shit ton of resistance. It causes a lower frequency vibration. That ripple goes out into the world and it mends or meshes with the collective consciousness. And just like that, you are feeding what you don't like, what you're trying to get rid of. Just a one little argument with your neighbor about a difference of whether you got this and they got that or whatever. Just one little thing causes a ripple. And that ripple joins with another ripple. And just like that, you're feeding the collective. So the change starts with you during this age of Aquarius. Part of it is I know thyself. I know thyself is studying your code, studying your blueprint, studying about who you are, why you're here, your life path, your numerology, your tarot, your cards of illumination, your personality type, your enneagram, your human design, your gene keys, your color code, your astrological charts, everything you can get your hands on. Study yourself. Know thyself. You don't have to be a robot to it. But know thyself. And don't let anybody get in the way of you knowing yourself. Don't let anybody tell you, well, you shouldn't be doing that. Well, who asked you? But you got to learn not to say. You got to listen. Just listen and just be like, pfft. Imagine that, you're deaf. You can't hear. You know what that would do to your life if you couldn't hear? You'd lose your sense of hearing. You wouldn't have to hear bullshit anymore. Now, I wouldn't want to lose my hearing. I love my hearing. But an advantage of losing your hearing, you'd stop listening to the bullshit. That'd be a relief. That is actually an asset of having your hearing taken away. That'd be an asset if you completely went white noise or just no noise at all. That'd be an asset. So there's duality in everything. If you were born without the ability to hear, well, you may be able to read lips, and that's an advantage, right? That's an advantage. So there's always an asset and a liability in everything that we do in this reality. It's part of I know thyself. And you got to make lemonade out of this, ladies and gentlemen, instead of trying to go and just tell everybody, try to piss in everybody else's lemonade because they're not drinking your lemonade. You gotta just let people make their lemonade. You got to be the change in the world. You got to go make the ripple. Be the example. But you got to know yourself. When you know yourself and you stand in that, that's me, man. Like, I've had a lot of people over the years doing this. I don't like the way you do this. I don't like the way you say folks too much. I don't like the way, dude, I'm not here to freaking appease your ass, man. I'm here to get a message out. If you don't like my message, then kick stones. I don't care. I'm at that point now. I don't need to defend it. You, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need to defend yourself. Just go do you. Let everybody else do them. That's the age of Aquarius. That's where you're going to get unification. That's where you're going to get the reduction of wars. That's where you're going to get the reduction of division. I mean, you don't have guitar players fighting because one's faster than the other on doing the arpeggio. People aren't fighting over who's got a better and they do that, but that's how ridiculous it is. You're not any better. I'm not, I have ants here in my place. I've made peace with it. Sometimes it annoys me. It's like, oh, they crawl on your leg, you get annoyed, but I've made peace with it. I'm no better than the ant. Sure, I can squash one in a second, supreme in those areas, but in the machinations of how this reality works and operates, the ants have a lot of say in all this. Like, look at the bee. If the bees all died, all human beings, according to what science says, we'd be dead. The little old bee. So think about that. How powerful is the bee in comparison to a human being? So people are saving the bees, we're not saving the ants. Not saving the worms in the ground. We're not saving the cockroaches, all the things. We're not saving, we're doing this, we're doing that. Folks, we're just doing life, man. That's what we're doing. You got to wake up to the fact, right? This reality, man, just like team vegan's great, but don't go out there and crucify somebody who's still doing something that you're not doing anymore. That just causes division. Life's a solo journey. That's another big wake-up call for the age of Aquarius, man. You're on your own journey. Just do you. Just go out there and do you. Let everybody else do them. If you got something different to say, go make a video about it. And then, some people are saying, you know why people don't do that? Well, various reasons. Number one, they don't think it's going to be good enough. They don't know how they articulate it. They may draft up an excuse like, I don't want to be in the limelight, but it's all based on fear. If you got a voice, if you got something to say, if you got a mindset that's different than what I'm expressing right here, and you don't agree with what I got to say, great. Rather than go out and say, you know what, Logan, you're wrong, and I am wrong in your eyes in a lot of ways, but I don't care. If you think I'm wrong, then go make videos. Go write a book if you don't want to be using your voice. If you feel it's that important to be an influencer on the world stage, what are you waiting for? See, I know I look at my code, ladies and gentlemen. I was born to do this. You may not, some people don't like me. That's fine. Not everybody's going to like me. That's totally fine. I've made peace with that. I'm not a people pleaser. Don't care. But I'm doing my job. I've looked at my charts enough, and I continue to study them. I still continue to get readings from my people that I go to. I still get interpretations because I want to refine this thing, man. I want to refine it to where it's vintage, but it's modern. That's the age of Aquarius, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving vintage into modernization. That's what you're doing. And you will turn out to be this human being that maybe no one's ever known about you. So I'm just encouraging all of you to make that your own, become the very best human being that you can be. Study yourself. I know thyself. This is the age we're moving into. Above and beyond everything I've talked about, I could have talked about so much more tonight. This has been a fun ride. I know I did a lot of talking. I didn't really engage quite a bit, but this was not what's your question. I wanted to get this message out there. I wanted to give you guys my take on it. And again, you got to make the truth your own. It comes down, and that's not a cop out. That's not me being loose or being, weak based or being beta or anything. No, it's just, you got your truth. I got mine. And that's the way it is. That's the way it's always been. There used to be only one religion. Now there's over 10,000. What happened to the first one? I mean, that's a lot. You know why? Because people get bored. It's okay to get bored. It's okay to go be a creator. But when you go out there and create, you have these competitions, right? That's what makes it fun in a way. You want to go open a pizza restaurant. So you go open up a pizza restaurant in a neighborhood, there's no pizza around for 5 miles, man. You kind of got it locked down. And then someone decides to open up a pizza restaurant right down the street from you. And now that pizza shop becomes your competition. How do you survive? You got to become the most refined you got to put out a product that everybody's going to want. Everybody's going to want to come to get a slice of your pie because it's the best slice of pie. And so I'm going to take that analogy and move that into the age of Aquarius. Ladies and gentlemen, there's competition all around. Are you refined? Are you a refined human being? Are you going to get refined during this age of Aquarius? Or are you going to simply just continue to give away your gas because you're mad at this or you're angry at that person or they're doing this and it's them and it's their fault? And that's not refining yourself. That's refining them. Because all you're doing is giving all your energy to those things you don't like in the world, and you're not only helping them grow, but they're taking that energy, they're transmuting it, and they're becoming bigger and becoming better, and they're monopolizing, and that's how you get smushed out. So it's time, as we move into this age of Aquarius, to refine yourself. You're always going to have competition, but let that be friendly competition, but refining yourself through the layers of the esoteric, the things that aren't taught in school. The mystery schools, there's no mystery anymore. All this stuff's going to be exposed. It has been exposed. It is being exposed. If you think about, again, we get into psychedelics, we get into cannabis. Why is all this stuff being legalized? Why are we moving towards that? Because we're moving into the age of information. When you take psychedelics, when you take nootropics, when you take marijuana, cannabis, it opens up your senses. It opens up your creativity. It opens up your boundaries. It shows you that there's no limit. There's no box holding you in. That's why this stuff's come in. One of the reasons. Because the universe wants to expand. And we may end up doing that through the quantum realm. We may be moving quantum. You get into that movie Downsizing with Matt Damon and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. And if we do go into machine, folks, if that's where the natural evolution of mankind is, with or without your consent, with or without my consent, if we're going to move into, we may never see that as human beings. Like a lot of you know, like the chip, and you get into theology. And the only reason why you know about the chip is because it's talked to, you don't even have to be religious. You don't even have to, like, I wasn't raised in any religion, but you know about the chip, the implant. How do you know about that? Because someone told you about it who comes from a theological background. Now you're being influenced by theology. See how all that works? And they're not even getting paid for it. So they tell you about this chip and like, I'm not getting that mark in my hand. Hell no, man, I ain't doing that. Well, if it comes down to you putting food on your table, ladies and gentlemen, I think you'd think twice about making that decision right now. And again, I'm not being, trust me when I tell you, look in my eyes, I'm being as authentic as I can. I am not a proponent for this stuff. I am neutral to it all. I am not marketing it directly, consciously like that. I'm giving you options, everything on the table. I don't work for any company. I don't belong to any society. I am a free Logan. That's my joke. I am independent. Like I always have been my whole life. But I'm encouraging you to look at all these layers that are coming our way and the possibilities, and trying your best not to have expectations towards any of them, because we just don't freaking know. But if you look at the collective, the dominant energy on the world stage, what is that moving? What does that look like? And is there a way to go against it? That's a heavy toll to pay if you go against it. You can remove yourself from it, right? I'm just going to go live in a log cabin up in the mountains. Okay, cool. If you can swing that, I'm getting really abstract, but anyways, I'm giving you some things to think about during this age of Aquarius. And one of them, of course, is what's talked about in the most popular book on the world stage. Whether you believe it or not doesn't matter. But it says the mark, forehead, hand, wherever. Then I say, well, who wrote that? Who wrote that playbook? Well, you're going to get someone from theology. You're going to say, well, God wrote it. Okay, how are you to prove that? Well, I just know that's the truth. Okay, cool. So that's your truth. I can respect that. But I can easily say that God wrote this astrology book right here, and he wrote it through Alan Oakes. This is divinely inspired right here. This book, I can say that confidently. Someone from a theological background who thinks astrology is from the devil would be like, no way did God write that. Well, that's your opinion. I think he wrote it. He inspired it. So we're moving into these ages, ladies and gentlemen. I know thyself. I'm going off and left in so many different directions. We're moving into this new age. Are you prepared? Are you consciously in a state of gratitude? Are you a gratitude junkie? Are you grateful for everything around your life? Are you more service to others than you are service to self? Are you raising your frequency? Are you raising your vibration in the sense of, are you increasing your knowledge and getting rid of your programming? increasing your consciousness and stripping away old programming, I think, is going to be essential moving into the age of Aquarius. Out with the old, in with the new. And there's a lot of flux of energy coming in as we move into this age of Aquarius. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know about you, but nonetheless, that's what I got tonight. And I greatly appreciate, look at the bottom of the card deck, the Ace of Clubs, Ace of Wands, card 14 representing time, God, right here, and the new beginnings. Right on the bottom of the deck, I just picked it up. So there it was, ladies and gentlemen. Are those from the devil? Are they divinely inspired? Are they one and the same? I think they're one and the same. Everything's all a big Ponzi scheme down here in this reality we call life. So just have fun with it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap for tonight. I appreciate each and every one of you for joining in last minute, maybe recorded. All you great decoders around the world, man. It's an honor and a pleasure to take you with me on all these journeys that I go on. A lot of your input for my decodes are in there, so I appreciate each and every one of you. I really, really do. So again, wherever you're at in the world, man, make it an amazing day. Wake up and give gratitude to everything around you, and really know thyself. Be that best parent. Teach your kids this stuff, man. It's going to help forge the future. I know that to be absolutely certain. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to end this presentation exactly where I left it on, where I started it from. This is from the villagers of Ione City, and this is called The Age of Aquarius, and I'm going to let this go, the entire song. It's like 8 minutes long. You can feel free to chat away as you wish as I go off screen here. But ladies and gentlemen, as I often say, that's all I got for today. Until next time, we will see you later.
The fairies of the forest will come. They wanna show you to the dance of night. This is the age